Good evening, Reds, and welcome to MUFC Realist TV. And this is Jarvis's Corner Monday night, 9 p.m. Tonight, we're going to talk about the game against Southampton. We won the game 3-0. You all know, you all saw it. It was a good game. There's a lot of things to discuss. I have a good panel tonight. I have Stu Woolley, Poppy, Power Hour, and Tom, Journalist 1. So stay with me, and we will be back after the intro.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to...
Yes, and we are back 9 p.m. Mondays with Jarvis's Corner. With me tonight, I have Stu Woolley and Poppy Football Power Hour. Tom will be joining us soon. And just in the beginning, I will remind everybody to just smash their like. We are 12 people watching right now, and we are on 10 likes as we speak.
Excellent.
So, starting with 10 likes, let's get to 100 before we end the show. Come on, people, just smash the like. You know, we work hard every day. I have a full-time job. I have a family. I work 45 hours a week and do this on my spare time. So likes really motivate us to do a good show for you guys. So keep on smashing the like. Okay. Let's get into the game and talk with our guests. I will start with my co-host as usual, Mr. Stu Woolley. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good actually. Yeah, I've been traveling a bit recently, so yeah, it's been a bit hit and miss this month with times, as you well know, and I should be out and about again next week, traveling in the beautiful city of Budapest, which I've never actually been to, so I'm quite looking forward to that. It's all work, but it's all good. But apart from that, yeah, no football over the weekend, so. We did some training tonight, so I feel quite relaxed. It's kind of why I'm a bit dishevelled and dressed how I'm dressed. But apart from that, I'm all good, old friend. All good.
Did you lift some weights, or did you run on the treadmill, or?
No, so I was at the gym at 6:45 this morning for an hour,
Wow.
And then I got back for my first meeting of the day, and then it was football training tonight. So it was just a little bit of ball work, a bit of two-touch. 3-touch, and when you were particularly bad for touches. So the idea is that you're playing the 18-yard box, 3 aside, and you're supposed to start with 2-touch mainly, 3-touch, and if you've made a mistake or whatever, they penalise you by going to 4 touches as an embarrassment.
Okay.
Oh, he needs 4 touches, you can't do it in 3, you can't do it in 2, that type of thing. So luckily I only had to do it once, but I was convinced I heard somebody shout behind me. That's why I left it. That was my excuse, but the gaffer was having none of it. He started giving me the old wanker sign. You fucking useless, Woolley. Get out. Usual nonsense that you get. So, but no. So that was So that's what we did. So it was all good.
It's all good. Good to hear. Good. But how's Germany? I heard you were to Germany last week, or?
Yeah, I was at Germany for a couple of days. Yeah. So in what I do as my day job, for anyone who doesn't know, actually, I'm surprised you weren't out there because it's all aftermarket. Car parks and that. So I was out there at a big
Drinking beer,
and I did a presentation to a couple of people on a few bits, you know. So I get asked sometimes to go and speak at these events. God only knows why, because he'd want to listen to me. But Germany was great. Yeah, we flew into Frankfurt. It was quite nice. The weather was lovely. It was really good. So
I have to say, Stu, I was actually invited to the exhibition in Frankfurt.
I thought you must have been. Yeah,
Yeah.
Why didn't you come out?
Oh, I didn't have the time at the moment. So yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah, well, it's 2 years now. It'll be 2 years' time. So
Okay.
Automechanica Frankfurt's biannually. So just come out. Let me know if you're coming, and I'll let you know where I'm staying, and we can. Or in fact, I'll bring you up to the press office where we can have a relaxation and a beer. I'll invite you into the press office. Not everybody gets in the press office, but I'll let you in.
I just saw in the chat Noradin asked for the link. Noradin, I've sent it to you on WhatsApp, so just join us whenever you're ready. Big up Football Power Hour, Poppy. How is Boston? How are you doing, my friend? I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a while. It's been a while, Jarvis. Well, I haven't been to like any conference or anything lately, like Stu. But I've been good. Actually, I was playing. You know, I had taken a break from playing football, probably maybe 5 months. So I played for the first time last week. And I'm so unfit. But the main thing is, I still got the technique. I still have like a really mean finish. So that part is still there. And it's just the pace and and the match fitness that's lacking. But I'm doing good. You know, trying to enjoy the last sort of like warm days. You know, Boston gets really cold. Quickly. So I'm trying to get back in shape and also just trying to enjoy the outdoors as much as possible.
So what's your routine? How are you trying to get back into shape? Do you jog or do you go to the gym?
I do both. I do both. I actually I hear a little echo by the way. But I climbed the hill. Like these it was from Tom. I got it. So anyway, so like these I live very close to a hill. I always go sort of like do like at least two sets, just going over the hill and then coming down and going up, and then that also ends up doing really like
Rocky Balboa routine, like going up.
Exactly.
Do you run it backwards, Pappy?
Sometimes I haven't done that in a long time, but
it's really good for your thighs and calves. Really good.
Yes. I feel like that also helps with sort of like when I'm like running on a flat surface, it just feels so much easier. It's like I can get, because I'm not really like a pacey person, but I have good acceleration, and so like the hill helps with that. Although like the part of why I took a break is because like I had an ankle injury, and so the hill, you kind of need to sort of like, you can't just like go ham already from the beginning. So that's my routine. And then obviously do some weights, that's also like a little bit I've started, turning up right after the summer finishes. I'm working on the summer body.
Summer body 2025. There we go.
Right. There's always next summer. So
sounds good. Well, I have to ask the question: how much do you bench?
Ooh, I actually do.
Don't give us any bullshit numbers either. Come on.
No, I do like, I do 3 sets of like 40 pounds. Like I do three sets of them, and then I also like do push-ups is a big part of the routine as well.
Calisthenics.
Yeah.
Pappy, I'll tell you what you should start with doing, old friends.
Tell me, Stu.
Yeah, honestly, if you get yourself a bar, if it's a Smith's machine, the bar's quite light.
Okay.
So if it's a standalone bar, it'll probably weigh about 20 kilos. So if you drop on maybe 10 kilos per side, do 3 sets of 50. So get yourself down, squat yourself out, and then 3 sets of 50. It'll hurt for a while. It'll hurt here, but what it will do, it's all about endurance. So it's not particularly heavy.
Yeah,
you're only benching 40k. But it will get your movement, and it'll get you, because probably what you're struggling with at the minute, and you won't know this, is technique. And that's not being critical. It's everybody has the same issue. So if you go really light to get your technique ready, then that will be absolutely ideal for you. I'll tell you what else you could do as well is get some 5 kg dumbbells, just stand firm, and then try and do 500 per arm. But you've got to work your way up to that. So you do
50 per arm. 500?
Actually, yeah. So you'll find with that, it's quite light, but it's repetitive, so it'll build your muscle mass. It won't actually build your muscles, but it'll build your muscle mass. And then you'll find it's a lot easier. And then when you bench again, you'll be able to do 60, 80. Actually, everybody who says, oh, I can bench 120 or whatever, fair enough, but you're an idiot. You don't need to bench that, to get to tone yourself up. So that's what I would do, pal. Just to start with.
It's that weight that you sort of need to be able to shrug off a defender, just so that you have a little bit of mass, bigger.
You just need it up here, So but you don't want it too much, because the idea of shrugging off, you want your shoulder to be a little bit bony, so you can hurt the bastard as well as your elbow, as your shoulder him out the way, you can hurt him. Make sure there's a bit of bone there. I always make sure there's a little bit of bone here ready to, especially if you do them around the neck area.
Yeah,
that hurts.
I don't want to do a Lukaku type of build.
Well, therein lies his problem. You see, I can't believe his strength and conditioning coach hasn't told him to kind of slim down. That's why he gets knee injuries all the time, because he's too top heavy.
True.
Yeah. I just want to say big up to Mr. Structure Nordin, who's joining us, and Tom Journalist One, who just came on the show. Big up, guys. Tom, how's your weekend been? Did you enjoy the victory against Southampton?
Yeah, it's been a good weekend. Good week all round. Happy with the result. Better performance after the penalty. There was a bit of reaction, a bit of fight, and that. Look, we'll get into the game and everything.
Yeah. Let's just get into the game.
Yeah, no worries. But been a quite a good week. I see obviously a few regulars in the chat, and as always, people don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Let's grow the community, grow the channel.
Yes.
Come back every Monday for your weekly dose of drip from all your boys on here. So big up.
Yeah. I have to just say the channel has been on a little vacation a couple of weeks now, so we have to work ourselves up again to the regular numbers. But people just keep hitting the like and sharing the message of Jarvis's Corner to every corner of the world. So big up Nuruddin, Mr. Structure. Good to have you on the show. It's been a while since you've been on my show.
Yeah, Jarvis. Monday's quite tricky for me. It's a tiring day at work and everything else with life. So I've done Saeed straight jacket and then I did a show. Sorry, Tom. I saw the message late. Big up, Tom.
Nice over.
But yeah. So I was supposed to go and watch a film, but it didn't work out. So I was just like, right. Yeah. I know what I can do. Something nice. Go and chat football with like-minded Manchester United fans.
Yeah. That's a good thing. We usually start with Stu, who breaks down the game, because he usually have a lot to say about the game. So Stu, if you may, give us your assessment of the game.
Fully enough, I haven't got a huge breakdown of the game today, because it reminded me of a typical fourth match of the season kind of game, really, except there was that little bit of the edge because we'd lost twice previously, so there's that little bit of edge to it. And I think when you look at the first 20-25 minutes, you could see where the edge was. You could see that players weren't quite settled. They weren't quite settled mentally. They weren't quite settled physically. Dallo had a real rough time with Dibbling for the first 20-25 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes. But once that penalty had happened, he then kind of got his act together with him. Thought Mazzari played a decent, solid game. Was very impressed with De Ligt, have to say. I'm not quite sure where Martinez is at the moment in his preparation, where he is with his injury. He was still a little bit, in my opinion, a bit tentative. He's not playing it how you would normally like to see Martinez play. And I don't know, when you get a foot injury, you get a calf injury. I've experienced it myself. You're a little bit worried about getting into tackles. I did my quad 4 years ago, and I still mentally have issues with when I'm overstretching for a ball and things of that nature. But, you know, Martinez is the type of player that will certainly get over that quickly. The interesting one for me was the Eriksen choice. And I saw the meltdown on Twitter, X, whatever you want, before. And I kind of wondering, and I thought to myself at the time, how would that go with Maino? You know, Eriksen's a ball player. We know this is not a tackler. He doesn't head the ball, but he's a very, very good ball player. And he, you know, his vision of the game when he's really kind of on it, so to speak, he's absolutely superb. It's second to none. But I think he's playing alongside, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here. I'm not going to say an exhausted Maino, but a very fatigued Maino. And I don't think Maino's quite at it yet. So that bothered me with Eriksen and Maino. But I'll tell you what, Eriksen kind of grew into the game. It took him a little while, but he grew into the game. And I thought he had quite an influence on it. And then, you know, the more you move up, the more you tend to see what the type of player Xerxes is. He's not this 9. He classes himself as a 9.5, doesn't he? He's not this 9 that maybe we needed in that game. And I thought is dropping into midfield at the optimum time. Once we got our kind of head of steam, once the De Ligt goal went in and Rashford popped his away, once we got a head of steam, he dropped and he made that kind of 4 in the middle when he needed to. And I thought he played a very intelligent game, but he's got to put these chances away. He had 2 good chances again on Saturday, 2 great chances against Liverpool. Should be sitting on 5 Premier League goals, in my opinion. He should have put those 2 chances away. And then, you know, Rashford, people were saying that, you know, Rashford's redeemed himself. He's done this, he's done that. Again, difficult one for me to kind of sum up where Rashford is. I think whatever people say, and I don't talk about confidence in players anyway. I think you should be confident when you step on that pitch all the time because you're there to do a job. People were saying his confidence will come rushing back, etc., etc. I'm not so sure about that. It was a well-taken finish. And to be fair to Ramsdale, he had no chance with it because you just couldn't see it. You know, he reached to the very, very last minute. Otherwise, I think it wouldn't have gone in if he hadn't masked it around De Ligt, although De Ligt did quite well to get out the way. He touches De Ligt, it goes to the left of Ramsdale and past the post. So I thought that was pretty good from De Ligt. But all in all, our overall play, I know people were raving about Ahmad. Great player. I didn't quite... I don't know why people were raving about him on Saturday, particularly. I think he had a good game. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't see the elevation that was actually required. So let's. And I'm not having a pop at him, by the way, before anyone in the VR room has a pop at me. I'm not. I think he's a great talent. I just all of a sudden, Ahmad is the player that we should be looking at. But we've done this before with Garnacho, and so that leads me on to Garnacho, and I'm wondering. I've said this for a while, Jarvis, as you well know. Is he better coming off the bench rather than starting? Is he more of a game changer than a game winner from the start? So, although he took his goal exceptionally well, but Pappy, I was thinking about this, and I must remind you about this. What did he do this time? Roof of the net.
Yes.
He made no mistake. He made no mistake. Roof of the net. It was a great finish. It was a very well executed pass by Casemiro. I think he caught Dalot slightly on his heels, to be honest, because Dalot was almost a little bit too late getting there. But I thought it was a wonderful cutback and a great finish. So all in all, though, I will say this: De Ligt gives us something we haven't had from a centre half for a long, long time, and that is aerial presence in the attacking box. His header, I don't know if you saw his body shape.
Yeah.
His header was phenomenal. Now, the actual cross itself was brilliant, but that type of cross, it just floats in the air. It doesn't have any pace on it. So you've got to make the pace. And for him to actually twist his body and use the size of the head required to kind of get it exactly where he wanted to put it was brilliant. I mean, you listen to a lot of the commentators, some ex-players are trying to really blow it up by saying, well, the ball started way out wide and curled in. Yeah, if he hit that smack on the forehead, it's going past the post. It really is. So the way that he twisted his body to get the side of the head onto it to make that tiny bit of curl that he needed, I thought was absolutely superb. So it's great to see. So I think DeLitt will probably net us. I think he'll score 5 or 6 goals this season. You know, Premier League.
It could be vital. Yeah, it could be vital for us.
And it could well be vital.
Is this the way you usually do your headers for Tipton Town? I can
no,
see
normally
with your old body and just nicking it in the goal.
Normally, I've got the attacker by the throat, and I've got him to one side, and then I head, and then I let him go. And when he's on a crumbling mess, I tend to try and stand on his fingers if I can, just to. What I tend to do is I tend to lean in as much as I can. What I like to do is if there's nothing behind me and there's no runners in behind me, I'll just ease the defender out and I'll let it roll to go straight through to the keeper. So when he's trying to head it, I'll just give him a quick elbow, shoulder, and I'll let it run. If we're too deep, then I'll have to get up and above him, and I'll do that by using his shirt at the bottom and try and get up that way. And that's how I tend to do it. But when you're in the box, you don't. The interesting thing about that is you've got a split second, because what people probably don't get is he's having to watch the flight of the ball, and when a ball is looped in, it takes so long, and the judgment on it is very, very difficult, as opposed to one with a bit more pace, where you've just got to get your head in the way. And providing you can direct it, you'll score. So, and this is what Xerxes actually, when you look at the Liverpool header, the ball was similar-ish in its weight, but he had the left or the right of Alisson to put it away. I think, and I have to say this, I think if DeLitt is on the end of that cross for Liverpool, we score, and there's your difference. So, look, one thing we've got to acknowledge, and we do have to acknowledge, is the fact that we have seen something we haven't seen all season. And that was a bit of determination by the lads. Some lovely football. Xerxes is a ball player, and that's massively important to us. He really is. We haven't had that with a striker before, or for a long time. In fact, I wouldn't even put Rude in that category. If we can get Xerxes, if Rude can get Xerxes to finish, he's going to be one hell of a buy for us. He really is. It'll be interesting to see what happens away. I'm not talking about tomorrow night because I think we'll play a lot of youth. Agate will probably start. I would imagine I would play him anyway, just to get him 45 minutes, maybe even 55, 60 under his belt. Yeah. Buying Deer in goal, that type of thing. Collier, Amas, those types of players, Wheatley. But I saw something that I've not seen, and that was that little bit of determination to actually take the game on the scruff of the neck and go and win it. And the second half was really interesting because I'm sure the lads, I hope the lads noticed, we didn't go out to do anything in the second half. And that's for the first time we felt the game was won. When you look at the players, look at the body language, Southampton were in 0 at that time. So, I started off by saying I didn't have that many points.
You summed up every talking point of the show. So goodbye, everybody. Smash the like before you leave. No, I'm just kidding. I want to move on after Stu's brilliant analysis of the game. I want to go to Noradin because you mentioned Mainu, and he looked a little bit off, especially in the first half. So Noradin, what's your take on Kobe Mainu? Do you think he's burning out, or what's going on?
Yeah, big up. Yeah, big up. A lot of things Stu said I agree with. Some things I disagree with. I think Kobe Mainu. I genuinely think that he's not a number 6. I think he needs to be taken out the firing line. I think he needs a developmental coach with him. There are certain things about where he's on the football pitch and the level of awareness. Now, sometimes that can occur through experience, but just what he's had in the last 7 months, 8 months, has been incredible. Like the rise, he started every game from England. I think past the quarterfinals, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. So that being that young age, that level, he came from youth football. Remember, he came from youth football. He didn't play for a year. He was still playing for under 20, under 21s, under 18. He's playing for them. and then he broke him to training with the first team, and then he got into, he was going to play, and then he got that injury, didn't he? He got that injury against Real Madrid. Was it Real Madrid or Arsenal? I think it was Real Madrid. He got the injury, that really bad ankle injury where somebody body weight went on his ankle. And then he came back, and then since he came back, he's been starting for every Manchester United every game. Now, for me, there is a certain time of when you have a stable football club and you don't have a manager that's desperate because of the way midfield and his tactics is, Kobbie Mainoo is going to be that solution. And I do genuinely believe, one, the mental and the physical fatigue is setting. And that I actually could think, what happens to Kobbie in the next year or so, next 2-year season, can determine what type of player he's going to be. If he's going to be the type of player who is just going on a burnout and is going to get injured, I'm tipping it. And I told you, Jarvis, on United Real Therapy, that I think he's the next one to get injured, right? Because what happens with fatigue and burnout, and obviously you saw him as well. He's one of the games that actually you see where fatigue hits footballers. It's hard for you to keep your balance. Your balance is one of the biggest things to go when you're fatigued. You're not landing, because football, a lot of it is about having good balance. It's really having good balance, with football. So if your balance goes, that means something else is going on. Your body is telling you there's something off. There's a level of fatigueness. But what worries me even more is that he's not going to get the developmental coaching that he needs to get. And only with that is that if you're taking out the team and you have that one-on-one training on the training ground and that level of work, and also the strength and conditioning. I think Stu was talking about giving the brother before some tips about. He's still growing, isn't he? But this is the most important time where bulking up, because obviously understanding the physicality of the Premier League, understanding that, getting thrown off the ball and all of that. He's got that actual body shape that once he tightens up, right? Once his body becomes conditioned,
he will be a brick. He will be,
yeah, he shouldn't be throwing off the ball as easy as what he's been throwing off right now. So for me, stable football club, he gets the treatment. He gets the Ronaldo treatment. He gets the Ryan Giggs treatment. He gets the Paul Scholes treatment. He gets the, the Neville's treatment. He'll get all of those different things in terms of, like, he needs to be basically taking in, bringing in, taking out, bringing in, taking out. We've seen Foden. Foden's not played a game for Manchester City because him and Rodri, both of them, he understands Pep Guardiola. He's not thinking, he's thinking after Christmas or near Christmas period, I might need you to. I'm going to need you guys fresh. I don't need you to come and now burn out from the Euros. Both you coming in, both you played in the final. I don't need you right now. I'm going to need you maybe that Christmas period, that tough Christmas period. I'm going to need you then. Kobbie Mainoo should not be starting for Manchester United, should not be starting games. He should be coming on in certain games while the one-to-one coaching that he needs is specifically, one of the things about young players is that young players will have the things. Kobbie Mainoo's got the technical ability, he's got the control, he can play on the front foot, he can play on the back foot. But still, in top-level elite football, positioning is a massive thing. Positioning you learn is repetitive stuff that you're doing in the training, and you try to replicate it. And you have that developmental coach that gives you the tick-off lesson. Did you do this? Did you check over your shoulder? How many times did you check over your shoulder? Did you play it one pass? Did you receive it and then pass it straight away? Popped it around the corner? What did you hold on to it? Did you have the time? Did you understand the awareness? All those things, when you're fatigued, goes out the window. So you're not learning anything. And only you're going to contribute to the player being injured. In terms of the game, the first half an hour, we saw what Manchester United are. I watched the game, and from what I saw the first half an hour, I was like, well, this is Manchester United. Again, the player on the ball was Kobbie Mainoo. The distance between him and Eriksen wasn't as tight. The distance is between him. And usually when the number 6 gets on the ball in that position, our players run away. There's no players who are offering at 2 angles. At the best of it, if you got the ball in midfield, the way that I was coached was that if you have the ball in midfield, you should be able to turn every way on the football pitch and at least have 2 options. have at least 2 options to be able to pass the ball. Right? The way Erik ten Hag's coaching, I don't agree with it. I see it being problematic. You already see the type of tackles, the recoveries, all of that is off the charts. I don't genuinely think this man-for-man, helter-skelter kind of football is going to suit us. But what I would say, it took us the 4th game to actually see United being dominant in the second half. I thought psychologically, Southampton are done because of the lack of confidence that they've had because they've been beating every game. They've come from the Championship. Largely, the group is the players who've come from the Championship. And I enjoyed the second half a lot more because there I saw dominance. I saw Manchester United take so many times attackers retaining the ball, taking touches in the area. What frustrated me is that they weren't shooting. Nobody was shooting. So many times we tried to walk the ball and try to score a tapping goal where 10, 15 yards out, somebody can just let it, just no backlift, just hit the shot. And we didn't do that. I thought I agree with Stu, like he is known for that actually from Ajax days and also from Juventus and Munich. He's a threat in the air. He's a threat in the air. People are going to realize now that he's a massive threat in the air. What that header reminded me was one of the best headers I've ever seen was Oliver Bierhoff. Because Oliver Bierhoff was a German striker. He played in Italy through the mid-90s. I think he played till the 2000s. I think he became a coach. I think he works for the German FA now. Last time I looked up. Last time I saw him, I think he was one of the administrators of the German FA. But he was the guy that I would watch Oliver Bierhoff bend the ball from 20 yards, head the ball from 20 yards out, and bend it into the top corner. That's the level of skill. So that's why his body looked like that. Because like Stu said, that ball was a floater by Bruno. He had to generate all of the direction and all of the force. That's why he looked a bit weird. When you see him, the body looks a bit weird because he's like that. But what a goal. What an absolute goal. For me, I think people underestimate the technique to be able to bend it. And it literally went into the side netting. It didn't go into the corner. It hit the side netting inside the goal. And that's the level of what... And also bouncing it onto the ground because the bounce will always take it away from the goalkeeper. So that was a brilliant header. The other goal we scored was, again, from a set piece. But what I wanted was Manchester United to score more goals like the last goal that we scored. Because to me, that would show the dominance, the amount of times we had 3 or 4 attackers inside the area. But for some reason, there was... I actually don't believe that Xerxes missed. If you look at the stats of all strikers throughout world football, strikers need about 7 or 8 chances, or 7 or 6 chances to bury 1 or to bury 2, right? So majority of strikers, the rate is that they'll get 6 out and they bury 30% of the chances they get, right? That's the rate of what strikers are. I actually believe the first one, the ball was slightly ahead of him. So when somebody's stretching, you're begging to have the contact. Now, could you say the problem with him was that he didn't anticipate it, and goal poachers anticipate that, and they get that acceleration quickly, knowing that ball is going to be dropping there and to put it in. But the second one, I thought it was a brilliant defending from Southampton. I don't think they defended that great in the game, but actually that was a fantastic defending by the defender, one of their centre-halves, because you could see what's his name. He dived. I think Xerxes gave Ramsdale the eyes, and he was going to put it in the other corner. And actually, it was a block. It wasn't that he hit somebody. It was an actual block from the ball going in. He stopped his feet out to stop the ball, and I thought it was a brilliant defending. So I don't actually agree that it was the clear-cut chances. Now, the Liverpool, the second one from Rashford, he should have buried that. He's got the technical ability to be able to control that volley and to put it in that corner because he showed us that he can score that. He's got the deft touch. The header, he's not that great at headering. If you know about Xerxes, headering is not his biggest forte, but the one on the floor, he should have scored. That's a chance that I think is a guilt-edged chance. In terms of the game, I still see worries. The first half an hour worried me. I still think there's a cause for concern, and we're going to come up against a bigger and better test than Southampton. But in the second half performance, I think I've been asking for the Manchester United to sustain the ball up the pitch. I've been asking for Manchester United to be able to keep the ball up the pitch. And I thought for large parts of that game, we took it inside. As far as
second half.
Yeah, in the second half, yeah. As far as Ahmad is concerned, I thought he was the best player by none. Because if you play football, there are somebody that just there's a level of fearless about them, and at this moment in time, Rashford is not, he's at times you think maybe he's shying away from the ball. At times he's playing it too safe. Ahmad, whether he loses the ball or not, he's picking it up and he's actually backing people up into the box. The thing about it, he's comfortable on the ball, technically sound, that he can actually hold the ball and actually go direct when we need him to, and hold on to the ball. So that's the thing that I enjoyed about him and Masraoui. I think there's a bit of a combination going on between him and Masraoui. I think Masraoui is a very intelligent and very good footballer, and the understanding is getting there. But I thought throughout the game, if you said to me who was the best player for Manchester United on the pitch, Amad Diallo. Now, to me, he should have shot. He should have shot. There was loads of times where he wants to play this little intricate pass to Bruno or to Xerxes or to somebody else. No, shoot the fucking ball when you're in the box. Like 10 yards out, 15 yards out. You're on a left foot. Your body's naturally open anyway. Whip it, or just put bottom corner. That's one thing I would have said to him. I would have said, what are you doing with this? You're 15, 20 yards out. 10 to 15 yards out. Shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. But for me, there was worries, but I like the way we finished the game. And I like that, especially I enjoyed the second half performance. But there are bigger tests ahead.
There are bigger tests. Good summarize of the game, and you mentioned a lot of things. Before we go to Poppy, and I wanna let Poppy talk a little bit about Xerxes. We have some memberships gifted from Rush Mano.
No, we do.
Oh my God!
Yeah, thank you, Rush Mano, 20 MUFC Realist TV memberships. We have 20 names for me to read out. We have Lats TV, Red Devils TV, Nathaniel Lucky Smith, Paul Friel, Jim Watkins, Genghis Khan Jr., King Eric 2020, Maria Steiner, Marty MUFC, Mark Manik Singh, Purple Puppet 72, big up for the year of 72. Napalm 420 Napalm Death, that old rock and roll band. John Johnson, a name I haven't seen in a while, big up John Johnson. Day in, day out, Gaming Simp from the Pigs channel. Kareem O Jelly, and Joey 75, and the last name is Sharon Lancaster, Adele Ronald, and that guy 92. Remember to thank Rush Mano for the massive gift to the channel. So thank you, Rush Mano. Let's move on to the show with this one, because we have heard you mentioned something about Xerxes, Nuruddin. So I will give this one to Poppy. I'm just going to share this screen first. This came out the other day with Van Nistelrooy speaking out and say, I need strikers with great killer instinct, not just kicking the ball. And I think it's a little dig to Joshua Xerxes, because he said, he issued a warning. Joshua Xerxes plays a clever link up throughout, but his deadly instinct is absent on top. So, Poppy, do you agree with Van Nistelrooy? Can Van Nistelrooy teach Xerxes how to score a goal, or is it like you're just born with the killer instinct?
That's a very big philosophical question, but I think killer instinct is something you can nurture. It's something that you can sort of like develop. But he has there is a big point there about Xerxes doesn't strike the ball with conviction. The shots don't have like venom. They don't have vibranium, and he can definitely improve on that. What I want to say is that his the way he links up, his intelligence, he's got that intelligence type of like football brain that where he looks for his teammates. He has this sort of like ability to sort of, I think he's very suited to one-touch football, pass and move, get into a space, you know, and he knows how to use his body to really like shrug off and shield the ball and protect it. So that's a very important skill. Now, he has missed a couple of chances. I think Nuruddin also has talked about that. And also, like, we know his aerial ability is not the strongest. So there's lots of elements of his game that he needs to improve. But I really feel like he was more suited for that game than, say, if Højlund was available. I don't know if Højlund would have had the same impact as Xerxes. So they're all like, you know that the old phrase, different horses for different courses. I think this one was Xerxes' course. Like there's sort of like they have a difference in profile where I feel like, you know, Xerxes, you have to give him a really good pinpoint cross or pinpoint pass for him to really have that good opportunity. But Højlund, you can give him a dirty cross, a cross that's not necessarily neat, where he has to fight a defender. So I really like the fact that he has Ruud van Nistelrooy as a good educator to learn from and learn about that kicking the ball. I mean, that killer instinct and not just kicking the ball, you know. In terms of like something that I want to quickly also make sure that I don't forget that Nuruddin made me remember was the fact that, I don't know if you guys remember in Barcelona just not too long ago, Gavi tore his ACL after being like a very, very important player for Xavi's Barcelona and also Spanish national team. There's something, a really interesting parallel where, you know that you have a talent that's almost like, you know, a generational talent that like makes his way into the team, and he's just pretty much just getting everybody out of like it's almost like he's a starter. Like for Barcelona, Gavi was only Ter Stegen, and I think maybe Gundogan had played more minutes than him in that season when he tore his ACL. And that comes from not actually, having a long-term development plan for a youth. You have to make sure that you nurture them and give them time for their body to heal, for their body to to really, really grow up, you know. And you don't always just grow up by just playing every single game. If you look at Gavi's stats, it's incredible for a player who's 20 years old. He's had about 82 league appearances, 14 Champions League appearances. That is pretty insane for a young player to be having those kind of minutes. It doesn't matter about the talent that they have. It's just about nurturing them. It's like a flower. When you have a plant or a flower and you put too much water, you're gonna drown it. You have to let the flower have time to absorb some sunlight, have that plant sort of like know what the roots of a flower, like they end up like really looking for water if the soil gets to like dry up a little bit, it gets to really expand and grow. And that's what I feel like these players should be treated like, especially Kobbie Mainoo. So anyway, so yeah, that's I wanted to make sure that I don't forget.
And you brought up a very important thing there, because when you're young, your body develops and your bones develops, your ligaments develops, your joints develops, not just your muscles. So it takes a little bit of time for everything to stabilize. So I'm not.
There are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions to the rule, like the Wayne Rooney's, just to be unobjective.
Yeah, but he was built like he was built.
There
like
are exceptions to the rule. There are people who actually need more football, right? Who need more football actually for that, and for them, that's how they get, the consistency. That's how they are. But to me, developmental plan, and especially in midfield, because in midfield up the pitch, certain things that you have to have. You have it or you don't about Xerxes. But in midfield, you have to, the position to play to play in at the elite level, you have to know that you're learning every day. Even the greatest, the best midfielders are still picking up little things to even improve their game.
Yeah, and you see how important it is how to learn the game. You see a lot of older midfielders dominate the game, like Modric, Toni Kroos. You had Pirlo at this time. A lot of them were brilliant, and most likely at their best around, I would say, between 30 to 35. So it's very important. We have a super chat from Jonathan Liljenberg. Big up 20 Swedish kroner. Thank you, Jonathan Liljenberg, directly from Sweden, coming in and say, I would love Højlund and Xerxes up front in the future. Tom, can you give a comment to Jonathan on that? Would you like to see them?
Maybe in a one-off game, we could see it, yeah. Or half, we're winning 3-0 at half time, bring the other one on, playing for 20 minutes or something together in a game that maybe doesn't mean as much, or we've already got one. Why not? And then we can see what's what. But it might look a bit of a risk to play them both from the get-go in a game, just because if it's not going so well, you don't have any other option to come off the bench and make any sort of an impact. Really, okay. That's probably the only pushback I'd put to
Ethan Wheatley is our third striker, so maybe he will come good during the season. Yeah, but I get your concerns. Next question is coming up for Tom, actually, and this is about Marcus Rashford. So we saw him score a goal against Southampton, and the question is simple. Could this be Marcus's turning point of the season? Is Marcus back?
Not the turning point of his season, probably of his career. Because if it doesn't happen now, I don't honestly think it ever will. Is going to happen. What is he now, guys? Tell me his age. What is he?
26.
26 years old. He relies upon quickness, dribbling, and movement. Those fade away when you get past 30. So he's got realistically maybe 4 years of quality football. Otherwise, you're going to have to try and develop him to play something else. We know he can't play number 9. He's not built like a number 9. We know as soon as his pace is gone and running in behind, what else does he really have to his game? He doesn't really have a lot more to his game. He can't play through the middle like the likes of, say, an Ahmad could or a Sancho could, where they could play as a number 10 and adopt that role if needed be. So, really, this is now or never. And if people think that one goal against Southampton is suddenly going to perk up a lot of people in thinking that he's going to pull the wool over my eyes, he's not. I've seen brilliant games from Marcus Rashford while he's been a Manchester United player. But I've also seen some absolute howlers. And I've seen terrible disaster class seasons from him. And we saw that one anomaly, which was Erik ten Hag's first season. The only thing that I'm going to say with Rashford is, when I don't personally believe, and I don't know this for a fact, I don't know what goes on off in his personal life, but I think he has a very troublesome time in his personal life, which I think affects him mentally and psychologically. I do think he's one of those players who, if something's not right off the pitch, I don't know, let's say, his mother's not feeling too well, or, his dog's just passed away, or something along the lines of that, like a family thing, or something to do with one of his friends or something, I think it affects him psychologically. I do think he's not one of those players who can just block things out when it comes to game day. And I do think that it has that psychological effect on him. I also think that injuries have hit his career. But he chose it to be this way. And Marcus Rashford had a chance when the 2020 Euros was on to go and get operated surgery on his spinal cord. And he chose against it so he could play at the Euros. And it meant that the surgery that he had was a botched surgery. He didn't have proper recovery. And he was forced straight back into the Manchester United squad. No pain, no gain. They put him on steroids, stringers, to try and drug him up. Yeah, that's what they do to players. They drug them up, so then they're at least at some sort of match fitness so they can play. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was one of the worst for it. He told us about all of this. He did it to Martial, he did it to Greenwood, Dan James, he did it to all of them. Because he completely burnt the boys out. And listen, Rashford, for as much as we want to hype his praise, guys, when he's on form and everything's going well off of the pitch and his personal life and everything and that, you can see when Marcus Rashford is a good player. And ever since we've had these little things with these party scandals when he's been out and he's been on the lash in Belfast, or You know, he broke up with his girlfriend, for example, at the start of last season and stuff. Personal impacts and personal commitments in his life. Whenever I've seen that happen to him, it's had a negative impact on his performances on the field. When he has a settled and balanced personal life and he goes into football, he's professional, he's in zone, he's synced. But the one thing that me and Nuruddin have always said for the last season in particular was he doesn't run at people anymore. And that concerns me because Marcus Rashford was hit the ball 5 yards in front of a player that he's running at and run past them. That was Marcus Rashford's game. Run at people, be direct, be explosive, be expansive. And for me, when I look at Marcus Rashford, I just think he's lost confidence. I think he's lost focus. But I also think he's psychologically affected by other circumstances around him. You're signing contracts, you're a big public figure, you walk through Manchester City Centre, you're always going to get exposed. You're the poster boy for Manchester United. Listen, these are just things that I'm saying, but these are true. He's the poster boy for Manchester United.
Yes.
When they think of the academy players that come through that system, they say, be the next Marcus Rashford. And that's just the blueprint for it. So when the kids come up, like Kobe Mino comes up, they look at people like Rashford and think, they've made that transition. Rashford was a generational talent in our academy at one point in time, guys. He was how Kobe Mino is right now. And what Dino said is completely correct. You need to manage players properly and develop them properly. And Rashford is the stalwart example of how a brilliant talent can turn into a bad apple very quickly because you've just left him to rot. And now when it gets to that point, guys, you let him rot, and suddenly he goes past his sell-by date. For me, the Southampton game, getting a goal, it'll boost his morale, it'll boost his confidence. Do you know something? If I'm being completely honest, play him against Barnsley. Let him try and get another goal. Build some confidence up. Yeah. The way you're going to get Marcus Rashford to back to the place that he should be is he needs to be playing consistently and scoring consistently. Because other parts of his games, guys, does he really get a lot of assists in a season? Not really. Does he really have that much of an impact in terms of his build-up of the game or trying to break teams down? Not really. If you give him the ball, let him run around 3 or 4 or 5 players, put it in the top corner. That's Marcus Rashford for you. He's not going to be one of these players who's going to be 5 yards in the box, tap the ball in the back of the net. That's not his game. We've said this for him for years, guys. When we tried to play him as a number 9, and he's not a number 9. We didn't have a number 9. We've got 2 of them now. And yes, and one of the points that Papi just said anyway, and I'll say his last point, when Ruud van Nistelrooy made that comment about killer instinct, I don't just think he was digging out Joshua Zirkzee there. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think he was just digging out Zirkzee. I think he was looking predominantly at Zirkzee because he's the one who's had a lot more of the chances this season. But I also think when he looks at statistical-wise, who gets on the ball most in the final third when we get up the pitch, it's Rashford. Rashford's mostly the player who gets the ball, guys, because he's our deadly player. He's the player who's proven it with that 30-goal season that he had. And listen, football can leave you. It can leave you as a football player. I just hope for Marcus Rashford's sake that his personal life develops and gets a little better off the field. And psychologically, guys, he will be a better player on the field. But his career was fast-forwarded by about 4 or 5 years when Louis van Gaal needed a player because we had that many injuries. He just said, give me a kid from the academy. Who's the best we've got? Right, Marcus Rashford, I'll put you in there against Midfield. I'll put you in there against Arsenal. And ever since then, guys, he's never been out of this system and this cycle of this team. But for me, the killer instinct player that we have in that front line that I've always seen when he's on form and he's on song is Rashford because he can kill you. As a winger, when he's on form, I don't want to play against a player like Marcus Rashford. 2 seasons ago, he was in the highest ranked wingers with players like Mbappe, like Vinicius Jr. And he had the stats, he had the statistics, but he also had the performances to back it all up. And it wasn't so long ago when he was on that Ballon d'Or sheet, that guy's, when he went and took the plane to Paris and he was at the ceremony. So for me, when I look at Rashford, just work with him. I want a person like Van Nistelrooy. Just work with him. Focus, Marcus. Fuck the off the field shit. If you don't want to go out raving and having a drink or everything, fine. Don't worry about it. Work on your fitness. Work on your commitments. What's your priorities? your personal life, or football. And for me, if I was in charge of Manchester United's sort of domestical side of it with advertising, I wouldn't put Marcus Rashford on any billboards. Why do you need to put pressure on these kids? When they've done something and they've been a success and they've won a couple of league titles, guys, by all means, put them on the billboards. Why do we need to put so much pressure on players?
Yeah,
but the only reason is, guys, is because he is that stepping stone of example from when you can go from the academy to the first team. He was the first major one that had that opportunity and broke out. And his predecessors behind him in Mason Greenwood, the likes of Kobe Mainoo's, Collier's, all these other kids that have come through the system after him, he's been the benchmark for all of them as to this is how fast you can get into this squad and this system. But for me, I just want somebody taken to one side, work with him one-to-one. Do what Dino just said about doing with Kobe Mainoo. Do it with Rashford, please. Because Benny McCarthy did it in that first season, guys, and I saw what I saw. I saw the improvements. I saw the adjustments. I saw the focus, the sharpness. But we need to see it consistently now. And it is do or die.
To keep it short, do you think it's a turning point? Do you think Marcus will come back this season? Or was this just I don't know what you call it, a flinch?
If you want me to give my personal opinion, I think when Højlund comes back, I think you'll start seeing Rashford playing a little bit better because there's not so much pressure on him to score goals. Because Højlund, out of the number 9s that we have, he's the one that I think can improve on what he did last season, and he can get 15, 20 goals potentially this season when he gets back to fitness. Xerxes, for me, I don't think he's going to get 50. He'd be lucky to get 15 goals this season. Ahmad, I'm looking in the same remit, about 15 goals. So Rashford right now really is you're hanging your hat on Marcus Rashford, who's a left winger, who is not a direct number 9. But no, personally, I think as soon as Højlund comes back and that pressure's off them to score consistently, that's then when I think Marcus Rashford will play a lot more freely because he doesn't have the world of the weight on his shoulders. Because if he doesn't score in a game, guys, that's when everybody gets to go up about him. But that's all that he has to his game is goals. I don't think he contributes to a lot else.
Yeah. I see Luan France coming in and say, big up Luan. He said she says the point is he can come back. He's clearly stated that he hates playing up front. So he will be the inverted forward winger, whatever you want to call it. But to the next question, we have another one. This guy, number 17, Alejandro Garnacho. I will give this to Stu. You mentioned it in your recap of the game. He came on and scored again. So my question to you, Stu, is Garnacho, he came on and scored. Is he best utilized as an impact sub? And will we see him coming off the bench this season?
Yes, is the short answer to that. He's by far an impact player for me. Look, many people would disagree. Many people think he's our most effective attacker by the way that he runs at people. But when you look at his overall delivery and his overall, I don't want to go into stats and percentages because I don't necessarily believe in that in football matches, but he doesn't necessarily deliver or hasn't necessarily delivered on the promise that we all see. There's no doubt he's a very, very talented footballer, bags of pace, bags of skill, but he just lacks intelligence, unfortunately. And what I mean by that is
he's very raw. Yeah,
he's not quite at the races. And when you're raw like that, there's a bit of a problem. And if you're not kind of instructed on what to do, and you need a real leader on the field to help him develop during the game. And unfortunately, we haven't had that type of leader. I mean, you can go through a load of Premier League clubs right now, and they've all got leaders. We're able to in-coach on the pitch to young players or players that are off their game and, help them get into it. Garnacho is brilliant at taking the ball. He's brilliant at attacking with the ball. But you're going to get a small percentage of delivery on the back of that. And that, for me, is just the issue. So I think, if you're deep into a game, 60, 65 minutes, your fullbacks are tired mentally, they're tired physically. That's when you need to unleash somebody like Garnacho. I was listening to Nuruddin talking about Ahmad, and he's right in what he's saying. Ahmad's got to pull the trigger more. There's absolutely no two ways about it. Garnacho's the opposite. Garnacho does pull the trigger, but he doesn't pull the trigger with any thought process behind it. Now, some will argue, why do you need thought process? Well, you need to there's two things you need to consider. If you miss the target in a real tight game, and you've been really up against it, and you get one, maybe two chances in a game, and it's 0-0, you've got to hit the target. You have to hit the target. You've got to make the goalkeeper do something. And if you watch the Birmingham Wrexham game today, if you're shooting from outside the box, Neriden talks about instinct, and the goalkeeper parries it into play. You need a striker in there to bang it in, and before you know it, you turn away. We've had that a few times. Eric Cantona is our most notable exponents of the one chance, one goal. He did it so many times, Liverpool, Newcastle, etc., where we're really up against it. The cross comes in, bang, Cantona's peeling away, we win the game 1-0. Garnacho has that ability to set that type of scenario up or be in a position to finish that type of scenario, but he's almost blinkered. He's almost got the horse blinkers on when he gets the ball, and that's just youthful exuberance. You see it all the time with football, but there are, when you look at Diblin, let's use him as a good example, similar in age. I know Garnacho's older than Diblin, but Diblin played his first game and he played at quite a mature level, so he got the ball. When he couldn't beat a player, he'd knock it short, and then he'd try and move in to receive the ball, whereas Garnacho would just run into a dead end. And that's the reason why he's better coming off the bench than starting, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. He's still young. I like this comment from Ian McDonald. He said Garnacho is highly rated in Argentina, seen as a player who can pick up the mantle when Messi retires. That's how highly they rate him. And how long before he cracks up and being a superstar, being a super sub.
Look, you can want to be Messi as much as you like. That's up to people who look at it, but you've got to deliver. And if you're not learning now with 2.5 seasons in and around the first team, if you're not learning what your role is in the team, you're not learning how you should be approaching the latter third of the pitch, if you're not understanding when to cross the ball, when to knock it back 4 yards, if you're not learning or understanding where to position yourself. I know people will argue he positioned himself brilliantly for the cutback on Saturday, but you have to deal that. If you want to get to the very, very elite level, you've got to be doing that consistently. You've got to, it's not just about learning and being a sponge. It's about actually understanding. I've said before, and I'll say it again, football's about, your brain, your eyes and your ears. You've got to listen, see and learn. Those are the characteristics of a great elite footballer. That's what they do. Your legs just carry you to where you want to what your brain's telling you to do, or they carry you from what you've seen where the ball trajectory is going, or you're listening to people so you're going in the opposite direction. That's what your legs do. You've got to, again, he's at Manchester United as well. Some people will say that Nuruddin was critical of Ahmed while not shooting. That's what the elite footballer is. When I spoke about the issue with Garnacho not lifting it over Xerxes for Brighton, that's what elite footballers do. Good strikers would have lifted it over Xerxes. I know Pappy thought I was a bit harsh on that. Yeah, maybe I was, but there are players out there that would have lobbed the chip, put the chip in to put it in the roof of the net, And these are the things that you've got to learn. So for me, I can see why he's not starting over Ahmed at the minute for sure. Could you see why he's not starting over Rashford? Well, look, I mean, that's a 50-50 toss of the coin, isn't it? Tom's assessment of Rashford was 100% accurate. That's always a 50-50 toss of the coin. But you've got to, player development, you hear it all the time. Oh, Guardiola made so much so a better player. Not really. He didn't. The player's got to make his own. He's the one that's got to learn. He's the one that's got to develop himself. He's the one that's responsible for himself staying fit. Look, I like Garnacho. I think he's a brilliant player. He's a great addition to our overall squad. But I do think that he's got to force his way now, because Ahmed's clearly ahead of him. So you've got to force your way into that starting 11. You're the one that's got to turn up an hour early every day, leave 3 hours late every day because you're doing extras in the gym, you're doing extra training to make sure you're the better player. Work with Rude, talk to Rude. Rude, if I'm playing on the wing, where do you want that ball? Where's the optimum area on the pitch for me to cross that ball for you? Start developing your game. You know, it isn't always about getting the ball and pegging it up that line, trying to beat your defender. It's about other variables within the game, and it gets forgotten about all the time. It really does gets forgotten about. Nuruddin, again, sorry I keep coming back to you, Nuruddin, spoke about the way midfielders should take the ball. You're absolutely right. If you take the ball with your back to goal, you should be able to do a 360 turn unaided because, you know, and then, you know, decide what you want to do with it. Are you going to, you know, walk with it 10 yards, push it 3 yards? Whatever you decide to do, you should have that game. When you're playing against wingers, you've got to, and fullbacks, you've got to make sure you've got the fullback running backwards all the time, because that is a nightmare for a fullback. If a fullback is static, he's on his 2 feet and he's squaring you up, then you've got the problem. Garnacho's got to learn and understand all of this. And he's got to talk to Højlund. I said last season, people were saying about Højlund, and I said, Garnacho's just too quick for him. He's about 1 or 2 yards too quick. You need to regulate your run. You have to learn all these things in football. It isn't just about picking up the ball and dealing with it. It's about, well, if I'm picking up the ball and Højlund's behind me, I've got to slow down a bit for him to catch up so I can deliver the ball so he's fucking in the box when I get there. These are where the elite players, you talk about Tony Kroos, you know, all the time. You talk about Beckham all the time, Giggs all the time, you know, Benzema, Vinicius Jr. You talk about all these elite footballers. These are the ones that understand and calculate the variables, because football's about split seconds. And unfortunately, right now, Garnacho doesn't have the ability to calculate the variables. I'm not saying Zirkzee does. I'm not saying Ahmad does. You asked me a question about Garnacho, and that's where we're at with it. A lot of people think I'm being hugely harsh, but not when you're at Manchester United. You're at the best club in the world. You're playing for Argentina, and you're supposed to be, you know, the next Messi. Well, you've got to earn that. You have to earn that. You know, anyone on this panel will tell you.
There's been so many next Messis or Maradona through Argentina's history. We all know, we heard about Riquelme or whatever, you know, all of them were the next Maradona.
When I was growing up, you know, I looked at Mario Kempes and I just looked at him and I just thought, you know, the way he glides across the pitch, he didn't run like fucking Zebedee, the Flintstones. He ran with a stride. He glides across. If Garnacho can adopt something similar, he can start to glide across the pitch. What happens is you gain ball control by doing that. You know, when you're running at as fast as you can, you've not got the ball, believe it or not, under control. You don't kind of know where it is at any given time. When you glide across the pitch, you guys will know, Rodri is a fucking brilliant exponent of it. He's not quick by any stretch of imagination, but he gets from A to B very quickly because he uses his stride with the ball. Garnacho can do that. When he gets into that critical area, that 20 yards, you know, he gets into that critical area, he can control what he does with it more. And, but look, he should not, but again, I'm sounding harsh, but he should know all this anyway. He should understand that. So for me, I mean, the lads might disagree with me, and you know, great, rightly so. But for me, he's a game changer. Absolutely, he's a game changer. But right now, he can't start for me.
Brilliant on Garnacho. I think you put so many vital arguments out there. 52 likes at the moment. People smash the like. Don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up. We need more likes. 65 people watching at the moment. We need more people watching our show. Before we go further to the show, I just want to say to the panel, try to keep it a little bit shorter because I'm conscious of time. We're 1 hour, 10 minutes into the show. So next question is up for Poppy, and it's about Christian Eriksen, because our set pieces improved drastically with Eriksen on the pitch. And with the proper DM like Ugarte, can we see Eriksen fighting himself back into the starting 11? Because personally, I think he had a great game against Southampton, especially the second half. He dictates the tempo of the game. He holds on to the ball. He makes us more dominant. And personally, I like a player like Eriksen. So, what's your take on the Danish maestro?
Danish maestro shines when he's playing teams that sort of allow him to shine. Southampton right now, that's his level. I just feel really, really strongly about the fact that I think he's past his prime, and he is right now, he's playing his role as an important rotational player. And when you're playing the likes of FC Twente, you're playing the likes of Southampton, this is where Eriksen should excel and get his chance. But as far as like what you said, seeing him really fighting his way into the starting 11, I really don't think so. I just feel like he's
he brings something with the set pieces, for example.
Oh, of course. On the ball, he brings a lot. But football, we play it on the ball and off the ball. And unfortunately, he becomes a liability when you play teams that really know how to play in that midfield, that really know how to like pierce through the middle. Big up to Tommy. So I really feel like right now it's just sort of a matter of just him riding out the fact that like whenever we play teams that are not as strong, then Eriksen should be called upon and he should give his all. So I'm not going to get carried away. And I'm just going to say like, he's somebody that we should be phasing out. He came in as a stopgap, free agent, and he's done his part, and now it's time to move on because ever since Andy Carroll's tackle, he hasn't been the same. And it just for me just feels like. And by the way, I know I don't want to be long, but like when we're talking about Garnacho, Jack Stevens, like that tackle was really rough. It should not just be a red card, it should be a fine as well or something, because like if you saw how like he was aiming for the kneecap, he's not gonna get the ball from Garnacho. Why are you doing that? So that type of behavior really should be dealt with accordingly. So for me, Eriksen, he's part of like the people that we should be phasing out of Manchester United and use him for the games that are sort of his level. I love the quality that he brings in the set pieces, but we play football on the ball and off the ball.
Yeah. Well, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but for me, I think Eriksen is a good player, and I think actually can bring something to the team. Not maybe as a regular starter, but he could come on and calm the game down, dictate the tempo a little bit, hold on to the ball in the dying minutes, the last 20-25 minutes of games, and we do know that Manu needs someone who can. Give him a little bit of rest in between the games, because Manu is getting overplayed. We have stated that. The next question for me is to Nuruddin, and it's a quite big question, but you can try to answer as best as you can, because it's on Ten Hag. We know Ten Hag is almost under a lot of scrutiny from the British media, from the United fans, from basically all of the world, because it's a high pressure job being the Man United coach. So he get a lot of criticism for playing open front foot football in a way. But we have forgot that he had 17 clean sheets in his first season, and he played much more pragmatic football in his first season. And what the issue with Ten Hag is that he's best when he neutralizes or nullifies the opponent's strengths. We saw it in the last 4 games of last season. We saw it in the FA Cup final. We saw it against Southampton. When we play in the mid-block, we play more medium. We don't press high. We don't open up. We look so much better. So the question is for Nuruddin, why don't he do it more often?
I asked the same question. That's $1 billion question. I don't know why. He's a very strange coach. He's a one-off Erik ten Hag, and not in the best way one-off. He's a maverick because he's only one of the coaches that literally devoid of what he wants to do in midfield. I think you can do it in the area divisa because Ajax have the technical and superior players in that league. When he was there, they had a fantastic recruitment plan with Overmars and Van der Sar, and they made a good team. But in the Premier League, this is the league that tests everybody. And for me, there is a video on YouTube where Ruud Gullit, for me, is talk about what Stu was talking about. One of the most intelligent footballers I've ever watched in football.
Yeah, Ruud Gullit, yeah.
Yeah, Ruud Gullit can play in every position on a football pitch. Sweeper, centre half, left centre half, right centre half, left back, right wing, left wing, number 10, behind the strike. You know what I mean? A striker.
Almost like a Dutch John O'Shea.
Well, and a bit more. And a bit more. But yeah, and he's on he's chatting to Ten Hag about the midfield and about how he vacates the midfield and the type of football that he wants to play. And Ruud Gullit was so super intelligent in positioning, especially what position that he was playing. Ruud Gullit had the technique, the level of skill, the football intelligence. You never play a sweeper unless you're an intelligent footballer, especially in those times what football was. But Erik ten Hag, for me, is quite unique in that. He came out, what shocked me last season when he said, we don't do things on the training ground. Obviously, yeah, because he was playing a lot of games. But he actually says, no, the team have to get used to each other, the patterns and the rhythm when they play together. So I'm like, that don't make sense to me. It's just, I do think that this is a massive pressure is on this season. And the pressure is right because of how badly we performed last season. For me, as a United fan, the standards are the standards, innit? Excuses are never, never. I never knew Fergie come out to say, because I haven't got this, I haven't got that. You know what I mean? We have to go with what we've got. If you are Manchester United and you're in Manchester United squad, you have to be able to do a job because that's what you get paid for. Yeah. That's where all the fame and everything comes from. So, yeah, Erik ten Hag is very strange. It's very unlike. I got actually sold a lie by him because the way his teams played in the Champions League. Like I said, even when the player was in midfield, not that Frankie de Jong was so competent. He's a quite unique player as well, to be fair to him. But even when he didn't have that, when he didn't have Frankie de Jong, he had midfielders and other players. There was 2 options on the ball. I don't know why he doesn't want to do that at Manchester United. I don't. I just want to go back to a bit about Eriksen. I think Eriksen was good when we took control of the game. I would love to see Eriksen play with Ugarte and Casemiro and Eriksen as a number 10. That's what I would like to see because I think we would get. I think if that ever happened, it will blow the Bruno lovers out of the park because he's far more competent on the ball than Bruno would ever be. He's just more naturally, more economical. He knows when to play it short, when to keep hold of it, when to manipulate, when to get it back. He has that, and there was some of that. He and the second half aspects of it, he was rewinding the years back. But in terms of Ten Hag, I said he catfished us. You know what I mean? I was one of the ones who were like, get Erik ten Hag because I like the way Ajax played. And I'm somebody who goes to games and I'm like, I'm starved. I'm starved of good football. I'm starved of like good football. And good football for me is attacking. But in the second half, things were good. Now, the tests are to come. So if we do that against Crystal Palace, if we do that at Villa, if we do it against Spurs, then I will write everything I said about Erik ten Hag, write it out and eat it on camera and apologize to him. I will write a long list of apology, present it to everybody. And I'll go on many channels and stuff that they will have me on and then eat the paper. That's what I would do because it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about Manchester United. And Manchester United will be doing really well. But he's under a lot of pressure. And this time there's not massive big excuses. There isn't any massive excuses anymore. I don't want to hear anything about injury. You got a squad now. Make use of it.
But Noreen, he changed it up against Southampton. We didn't play with the high press. We played with the mid block.
Yeah.
Our structure was okay. And do you think Ten Hag has realized that he need to be more pragmatic in his style now to get results?
Well, I hope he has. Like I said to you, the Ten Hag that I liked, Jarvis, was that was the last 5 games of the season leading up to the cup final. That was it. Because to me, football is about space. It's about battling space. You're either, when you got the ball, you try to create more space. When you haven't got the ball, you try to restrict that space. Yeah. That's what you're doing, right, in the football. Whatever, you're closing space down, you're closing positions down. And for me, the basketballification that we saw last season, I called it basketballification. It's basketball football. I'm not with that. I played basketball for a year in school. Boy, oh boy, you have to be fit to play that game. You know what I mean? You're running up and down underneath the basket. And to me, the Liverpool game exposed him. That's when I thought, wow. And I will forever say that, because I watched the game live and I watched it 3 times back. I was in the stadium and then I came back and I watched it 3 times. And I thought his tactics in that game, the fact that he didn't learn. Apparently, one of my friends was saying to me that against Southampton, they saw, my friend who was in the stadium, he's part of their away fans. He said when the penalty went, he called Eriksen and Kobe over. And he was doing this. He was doing a lot of that. He was talking to them, but he was doing this. And we looked better after the 30-odd minute after the penalty. So for me, I'm like, why didn't you sort it before? The biggest thing for me, the best managers, Fergie had the thing. If you ever know Fergie, it's that little, he's in the chair, he sees something he doesn't like, runs up downstairs. He's telling them, right, what the hell are you doing there? Or else you get off. I've seen Fergie do this. Like, if you don't do what you're told, you come and sit next to me. Right? And to me, Erik ten Hag and modern coaching, for me, the best. And I think in his first season, he was really good at it. He could understand his first season. He was reading it. And that's one of the best things Steve McLaren said before we got him. He said he reads the game really well. I don't know what happened last season. And this season, to me, it's the slow reactiveness. Jurgen Klopp was one of the best at that. Jurgen Klopp, if they're getting battered down one side, he's like, okay, I'm going to change it. Make sure you're not battering me down that side. I'm going to stop the bleeding. And Erik ten Hag, sometimes, I don't know what happens. He overthinks or whatever happens to him. But that's what he does. But yeah, I can go on. This answer to this question can be like 5 hours by itself. Yeah. Marathon stream. But for me, I hope and pray and well, because genuinely, I won't like to sack managers, but if you are showing me that basic Sunday league stuff, like certain tactics are so basic, you know, definitely the Liverpool game, 100% I couldn't blame any of the players on that football pitch. It was the system. It was the way he set up and the way that they took advantage. The thing that I noticed against Southampton is that we kept it central. We really kept it central in our press, winning the ball back. We didn't go out wild. We kept it central because they like to place in central areas. So they played into our hands, you know. They played into our hands. They play central areas. And in the second half, a lot of times, we kept winning the ball. So it's going to be very interesting. How we go forward, I hope we can turn it around. I hope for me, play compact football. Play compact football. The biggest thing, I play Saturday, Sunday League amateur. Stu play professional. I was told positioning. Midfield. Shout out Eric. Rest in peace, Eric, our coach. Midfield. Yeah. Where are we?
Yeah.
Where is the distance? He would literally, in training, sometimes give us like a rope.
Yeah. Stu, do you have a comment on Noradin's great talk about Ten Hag?
Well, no, I tend to agree, actually, because, for me, Ten Hag is hugely frustrating in the way he's approached last season, the way he's approaching this season. But I would say this, and Noradin's right, that when the penalty was being awarded, all that time period in that time, and he got COVID, he got Eriksen, and he's doing this, and he's doing that. Where are the players already on the pitch identifying what's going on? And that winds me the F up. Because one of the things I was always taught, and my gaffer would always turn around to us and he'd say, look, when you got on that pitch, I want you, and you. I want you to spend 5 minutes understanding the opposition. Within that first 5 minutes, when we're out of possession, although you're doing your mark and you concentrate, I want you to see who they play through. Why do they play through him? Who is the first point of call in the midfield that's going to collect the ball? And are we around him? And is he going to get time? And then once we've done that, we then communicate that around to your zone areas. So, and I talk about zones all the time, lads, as you well know. So I've got my zone, and I've got, if I'm playing centre half, I've got the fullback, and I've got the central midfielder in and around me. That's my zonal area. And we're talking to these, and we're saying to these players, well, look, every time Alisson gets the ball, he's popping it out to Trent, and Trent's banging it straight directly into McAllister. Why aren't we cutting it out at source? Why have we let that happen 5 times in 12 minutes? Mm-hmm. It's gone out the game. That completely gone out the game. It doesn't ever get spoken about, and it certainly doesn't happen where our players are taking that responsibility. So I've always thought, and this is just me, and it's got nothing to do with what anybody else thinks about the game, but I've always thought when I cross that white line, it's down to me. The coach has done what he's told me. The manager said, this is what we need you to do, blah, 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 blah. But you know as well as I do, Nura didn't tell you this, if he's played Saturday football, which I'm guessing in the Northwest Counties Premier League, that type of level, Norridon will tell you, the game fucking goes out the window after 30 seconds to a minute from what you taught, what you were learning from a Monday, Tuesday and a Wednesday, and maybe a Thursday, depending on when you did your training. You plan meticulously, and then something will happen and the game changes. And if you can't adapt immediately, and I'm talking immediately, or understand what's happening in front of you, you'll lose a game of football all the time. And you can't rely on the gaffer. You should never be looking across the left or to the right, wherever the benches are, trying to listen to what's going on. And your captain, I'm skipper at Tipton at the minute. I pay no attention to my skipper, and nobody pays attention to me, and I don't blame them, because you should be concentrating on your game and your in-game development and how a game evolves. So I agree wholeheartedly with Norridon says he's more erratic last season, and he's kind of erratic this season. And I said to you last season on 3 occasions, we didn't have the personnel, by the way, to do it. No, I'll be clear about that. We have this season. Change the fucking system. Just go out there with 3 at the back, 5 in the middle, 2 up top, and just see what happens. You don't know. You as Norridon says, you stop the bleeding. How do you stop the bleeding? By trying stuff. When you're defending a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 anyway. That's the irrelevant side of it. But when you're attacking, attack with something different, because every manager, whoever it was in the Premier League, knows exactly how Manchester United are going to play. So they hardly do any conversation about it. So I'll just watch last week's game, lads. Why? Because that's how they're going to play against us. And it was proven. It was only individuals. I'm not going to say brilliance, but it was only individuals at some point that got us the wins. You've got to mix it up. You've got to have a plan B. I hate plan A and plan B. It winds me up. I just hate the phrase. It's horrible. But you've got to have something different. So when you get on that pitch, if things aren't going right, redevelop it. Do something. We don't have the leaders that we had. We don't have the Bruces, the Pallisters, the Roy Keanes, the Paul Inces, who could demand an effort, demand a game change, and go to the gaffer and say, look, we're getting battered here, blah, blah, blah. You've got to be able to do that, and it's not happening. So I agree with that, Norridon. Really, I haven't got a lot to add on what Norridon.
Yeah. So. Yeah, well, it sounds good. I see we are 1 hour and 27 minutes into the show, so we have the Q&A session and we have the Devil's Advocate. So let's just jump into the Devil's Advocate before the time goes out. Oh no, we are not, because we have a super chat first. Sorry.
Super chat.
We have a super chat from Tommy Boyle 71. Big up, Tommy. He says British media are complicit in their own stupidity. They're all like Jon Snow. They know nothing and they hate Erik ten Hag because he gives them nothing to go on. Quick comment, Tom?
Yeah. You could
Tommy Boyle.
You could argue that. They've got to find stuff out from somewhere, and Ten Hag doesn't really say much, apart from if he has to defend himself, and he normally does that with statistics. But listen, we know what the British media is like, guys. They pull managers apart. They tried to do it with Pep when he was here that first year. They tried to do it with Klopp first couple of years. Arteta, I think, had it probably one of the worst out of a lot of the managers in this league. But because Ten Hag's at Manchester United, he's going to feel the more brunt of it, especially when they're not where they should probably be right now, which is play style of play on the front foot and actually going for teams and giving it a go. Even as many cases, people say the casino, roll the dice in a lot more games than we do.
But Tom, you are a journalist yourself, and why do you think the British media and the journalists go after Ten Hag this way? Is it just because it sells and gives clicks, or do they actually have an agenda against Man United after all the years in the Fergies, the 1990s and the 2000s?
Yeah. Listen, a lot of these journalists that report on Manchester United, they're not Manchester United fans. I think people forget this about journalists sometimes. Just because they're a correspondent for an outlet that has access to Manchester United doesn't make them a Manchester United fan. A lot of these journalists that have worked at Manchester United, their childhoods were fucking ruined when they were being brought up through the system because all they could go off of and report was Sir Alex Ferguson or Manchester United were being successful. That's all that they had to go off of. They're not cultured in the way of the football is always an up and down business. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Manchester United years ago, all they ever did was win. There wasn't a question about when they win. It's how do they win? They're always going to win, but how do they win? How can we write it as in they've won? Was it a dominant season? Was it a competitive season? Was it a landslide? What was it? You already knew the end result. You just had to phrase it in a certain way. And that narrative's almost changed to the opposite now, where it's like, well, Manchester United aren't a successful football club. They always had the backbone to fall back on to say the Glazers weren't great owners of the football club and custodians of the club. So there was always that to fall back on. But ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, there's only one person that sits in a press conference, and that's the manager. And I judge Erik ten Hag like I judge every manager that's walked through the door since Sir Alex. And that is, I don't ever expect a manager to walk through the door and compete with or even do the exact same as Sir Alex Ferguson's record. I never expect that from a manager. I want them to come in and I want them to show what they are as a manager, not what they want to try and aspire to be in Ferguson's shoes. And there was a quote, it was what Jurgen Klopp actually made his first interview when he came to this league. He said, it's not so much about what people think when you arrive at a new football club. It's what they think about you when you leave. And a lot of managers that I look at in football, particularly at our rival clubs at the moment, in Arsenal, Liverpool and City, when all of their great managers leave their clubs, they've got a lot to say about their managers. When people leave Manchester United, don't really have a lot to say about them. Let's face facts, we don't. We had serial winner Jose Mourinho. Have we really had much to say since Jose left? No, not really. Ole had nothing to show for it. Ten Hag, arguably you could say, guys, he's won 2 cups. That's not Manchester United aren't renowned for winning the FA Cup or winning the Carabao Cup. It's about leagues and European success. That's where Manchester United's dynasty has always been. And there will be a day, if we don't get our act together soon enough, where that 20 times song might not be sung around Old Trafford anymore. It might be sung at a different ground. And at the end of the day, when I look at Manchester United managers, just Ten Hag, I don't think paints himself in a lot of glory, guys, with some of the stuff that he comes out with. When you say you want to play a certain way and your team plays the opposite week in, week out, you're going to be questioned about it. But at the end of the day, I do believe that Ten Hag takes a lot of flack, but he also doesn't paint himself in glory with the answers that he gives back. When Mason Mount comes back, you will see what a great player he is. Mason Mount comes back, guys, I don't see a great player. I see an average player most times who can press. That's it. The same question you can say when he says it about other players, but he doesn't like it when you start throwing prices around some of the players that they mention. You paid £80 million for Anthony. What do you plan to do with him, Erik ten Hag? And he doesn't like sort of questions when you start throwing price tags on his players. They did the same thing when they brought in Højlund. Well, is Rasmus going to be this 30 goal a season striker in maybe 2 years, Erik ten Hag? That's why you paid £80 million, upwards of £80 million for him. You don't like those questions when you press it in terms of price tags. But at the end of the day, he needs to get back to the basics of it. And I agree with what Nuruddin said. Why on earth he did not just say to why he didn't just come to this league knowing what he could do at Ajax and adapt that to Manchester United? I just think it's a complete smokescreen, and I can't understand why. Because Ajax as a club is renowned for winning trophies. Manchester United is the exact same thing. Just adapt your style that you've done over at Ajax to Manchester United. It's simple. It's as simple as that. I've never known a manager, guys, completely abandon what they believe football, the way football should be played. He did it at Go Ahead Eagles. He did it at Utrecht. He got to Ajax. He then got to Manchester United, and suddenly he's at a bigger football club with bigger ambitions and expectations, and he's abandoned shit. It doesn't make much sense. But I do think Ten Hag doesn't paint himself in a lot of glory. But I also think we need to remind ourselves with a lot of these journalists that they don't always write stuff for the benefit of Manchester United fans or for what you want to hear or what you want to be listening to. It is a business. Media, people make money out of media, and media companies make money out of Manchester United's name. And that's how I think a lot of people should always try.
We all know that. We all know that. The media is after us all the time, but hopefully things will change when we start getting back on winning tracks.
So don't give them an excuse. Don't give them an
That's
excuse.
it.
And you know what? Create a siege mentality. Create the connection between the team and the fans, and then we will go out and face the media for you. But give us something to back, Ten Hag. Give us something.
100%. I see Poppy is coming back on the stream. There you are. Poppy's back. Let's go to the next segment of the show. We are getting a little bit short on time. So now it's Devil. Yes, and this is the Devil's Advocate. I will make a case, and you guys will have one guy each to defend. So, but we only have 3 prepared. So I will give this one to Stu, Poppy, and Nuruddin. So the question is very easy. You see these 3 guys. We all know them, and the question is tonight's Devil's Advocate debate: who is Manchester United's greatest player of all time? And I will give Georgie Best to Stu Woolley. You have 2 minutes from now.
Well, actually, that's the unanswerable question. When you look at the plethora of players that we've had, some will deserve the title, some won't. George Best, what can I say about him? I was never lucky enough to watch him play, but he was the very first rock star in football in terms of utilising how football was, utilising how Manchester United was at the time, and becoming this David Beckham-esque type player. But before Beckham, I think Beckham learned from the great man himself.
The Beatle.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Look, you've got balance, you've got poise, you've got pace, you've got unbelievable dribbling skill and ability on pitches that were nothing short of cow fields at times, with heavy balls, waterlogged balls, and he had this, and he knew how to score goals. When you're looking at somebody who I think epitomises what Manchester United is, who, when you look at it, and people automatically go directly to that player over the other 2, although the other 2 have got their merits, obviously. I think you can't look past George Best out of those particular 3. Brilliant player, and one for me.
Thank you, Stu. You made it in time. You made a great comment on that. And people in the panel afterwards, if you want Stu to win the Devil's Advocate debate, you have to press 1 into the chat. Now for the next one, and that's our guest Nuruddin, and you have to give a case for Eric Cantona, the King Eric. Nuruddin, tell me, why is Eric the best player of all time?
It was a cold January. I've just got over the fact that the season before Manchester United lost the league to our closest rivals, Leeds. One of the closest rivals, Leeds, at that time. What kind of cushioned that blow was 91. 91, Rotterdam. And then there's this fella, I remember turning on the TV and I remember watching a game and it was the Charity Shield. And I saw this French tall fella, scoring some fantastic goals in a game. I think he got hat-trick against Liverpool. I remember thinking, wow, he can play. He looks like a really good player. Anyway, the January comes. Dion Dublin, I think, gets injured. We buy Dion Dublin from, I think, Cambridge.
A big signing.
He scores a couple of goals.
1 million.
Yeah, he scores a couple of goals, but then he does some mad injury. The Leeds man, Howard Wilkinson, the Leeds manager, rings up about Dennis Irwin, one of the greatest left-backs in the history of the Premier League. The greatest for me. Somehow, some weird universal thing, Fergie asked about Cantona. And the rest is history, people. Who are Cantona? Frenchman arrived at Old Trafford. I remember those days, Sky Sports. I think Sky Sports was just about beginning. But I just remember Eric Cantona, shock transfer, Manchester United. I remember, I think I must have been in second year, maybe, no. Second year in maybe first year in high school. I remember just seeing a headline, Eric Cantona, Manchester United player. From that, I went around and watched him train. I would go on WAG school to go and watch him train sometimes. That's what I would do. He, for me, is the guy who instigated the greatest time in Manchester United history for me in terms of winning 13 league titles. Without Eric, there's no 13 league titles. Mm-hmm. Everything came. And Stu talked about him earlier.
10 seconds.
When he came back, he won us the league single-handedly. Go, go, go. All the games, 1-0, 1-0. It was 1-0 to Manchester United. King Cantona is the best and the most influential player I have ever seen and witnessed. Not just in all football, not Manchester United.
Applause.
Well put.
And contestant number 3 is Football Power Hour, and your player is Cristiano Ronaldo.
For that one.
Well, it was a cold evening. Manchester United was playing a preseason game versus Sporting Lisbon, and we witnessed a young boy adopt a man called John O'Shea. He made John O'Shea his son. He took John O'Shea to school. He sent John O'Shea to the shops and begged to go buy oxtail, to go buy some chicken and milk and eggs. And Sir Alex Ferguson saw this boy and said, wow, this is something special. And soon enough, that young boy came to Manchester United. And when he came to Man United, he brought flair with him. He brought skills. He brought dribbling. He brought the step over. Nobody has really made a step over famous like Cristiano Ronaldo. And we saw it at Old Trafford, and we were blessed to see him. And Cristiano Ronaldo, we saw the evolution of him becoming a young man from 2003 to around 2007, 2008. We saw evolution in his game. He became the world's most complete player. And he had the shot, he had the heading, he had the penalty kicks, he had the free kicks. We saw a player, a phenomenon that I don't think we'll ever see again like that, like a number 7 who made number 7 great again. And this man, Cristiano Ronaldo, he even brought the suit to Manchester, which is the most iconic celebration in world football today, most influential. All right. And in 2008, we saw him, win the Ballon d'Or for Manchester United. He's the last person to ever do that. And not only that, by the way, in that spell, we saw him help Manchester United win 3 titles in a row. And he, let's not talk about his second spell, but that was his first spell. And let's focus on what Ronaldo gave us. When he came back, he was still top goal scorer for Manchester United. Anyway, is my time up?
Yes, your time is up.
Good effort,
Thank you, Poppy. Brilliant. And to the people in the chat, get your votes in now. 1 for George Best and Stu, 2 for Nuruddin and Cantona, and 3 for Poppy and Ronaldo. Get your votes in. We will count up in 1 minute's time. Now we can get ready for the Q&A session with Stu Woolley. I will give you the driving seat. There you go. And here is the jingle.
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Well, welcome to the Q&A. It's tight, by the way, in the voting, which I...
Sorry, Stu, you just have to count the winner of the Devil's Advocate before we go to the Q&A.
I'm saying it's tight, but Best has just won it, I think, by about 1. It's very, very tight. Somebody did put in number 4, and that was Robbo, and he's been voted for twice. so there you go. But it's very, very tight.
Abs MUFC voted 2, We Deserve Better voted 1, Trevor Wade gave us a 1. Yes. Who else do we have? Nick Nash with Cantona.
Neil Driscoll. Neil Driscoll, I think, was the one that took us over. So,
well, I would say
very tight. Do you want to call it a draw? Do you want to? Well, there's the win. There's the win. There's the win. So, but I think it's really close. I would go with a draw on all 3 because I think they've all looked at, Steve Coppell. Now we're talking. with Mr. Coppell. Yeah, we could go on forever on that one, Jarvis. A good devil's advocate, but I think there's a case for all 3, isn't there?
Yes.
And I would be happy with a tie on that one. Guys, welcome to the Q&A section of Jarvis Corner. Hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. We've had some great guests on and some real knowledge. Tom Nuruddin and good old Pappy, some real knowledge. Me and Jarvis just along for the ride, as always. Guys, keep getting your questions in. We've got some to be getting on with. So we'll start with Tom. You are back, aren't you, old friend?
Yeah.
So this is for you, actually, from Royden Frost. Tom, have you looked at our shots in goal stats, defense stats, etc.?
I have, yes. And considerably from last season, they have improved. The only problem is we've still struggled to keep the ball out the back of the net. The difference is, against Southampton, don't get me wrong, that first half an hour, I'm not going to be mince my words, I was shitting bricks. They was coming at us. They had a young wonder kid from the academy on the bench, and I was getting the Longstaff brothers vibe, what we had from Newcastle, where they peppered us. The little ginger Paul Scholes wannabe come off the bench and hit the ball in the back of the net, and that was all she wrote. Southampton, don't get me wrong, they got the penalty, deserved it. From what I saw from it. Then the Archer kid, he just fluffed it, completely blew it. When you're on top in a game like that against any top 6 side in the Premier League, you have to put the ball in the back of the net at least once. Otherwise, you've done that all for nothing. So, in terms of the shots on our goal, I think it's getting reduced. The only difference is there is still that hole that needs shipping in midfield. Now, don't get me wrong, against Southampton, it wasn't as bad because Southampton aren't this killer instinct team that are going to play through you. They're not prime Barcelona. They're a championship revert competition. We saw this with Burnley with company last season. I look at Southampton, they're pretty much identical to what Burnley tried to do last season. Played the brand of football that got them to the league. They brought it to this level and now they're struggling because they don't have the quality of players that can play it against top opposition week in, week out. But for me, defensively, it's getting better. But my only landslide mark I'm going to probably say is we can't be doing it. You can be brilliant for 90 minutes in a game, but if your whole back 4 shuts down in the last 5 seconds of the game, like they did against Brighton, and they all ship to one side of the pitch panicking because they're desperate to get the ball away and straddle for a draw. You can't do that at this level of football. 5 seconds in a game is all that a player needs to put the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, I look at it from that we're not conceding as many shots, but we're still having the ball go in the back of his net. You can blame that on Onana's positioning or some individual errors like Casemiro with Liverpool if you want to, but it's a collective. Football is a collective and it's a team sport. And if one person's out of position, somebody should cover them. And all of the top teams do it. I've seen Liverpool do it, City do it. If a player goes up 5 yards out of where they should be, somebody covers for them. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Tom Royden. I hope that's answered your question. Nuruddin, I'm going to give you this one because I love your take on Mr. Onana. This is from Tommy Ball, by the way, 71. Should Bayadir start in goal tomorrow night? I guess he's talking about.
Yeah, Bandia should start. Yeah, I would start him, or even Heaton. Yeah, Onana had a good game, saved the penalty. I thought the other one, the shot from the kid, from the right winger.
Yeah, Diblin. Yeah,
Diblin. I thought that was a standard save. To me, it wasn't spectacular. I expect my goalkeeper to save that. I don't know what other saves he made in the game, but yeah, he made good saves. He did his job. The penalty, he went early. Luckily, if you watch it again, he goes really early and he's there already. So, yeah, he saved it, and I think he changed the direction of the game. So, yeah, I said that he deserves credit for that, but in the long term, I don't think he's a Manchester United goalkeeper. And I've got nothing against him. I don't know him personally, but I think he's decent, but he's not spectacular for me. And not spectacular, but he's not at the world-class level. And I always think Manchester United need a strong spine. We need a world-class goalkeeper, a top-level centre-half, a world-class centre-back, and a world-class centre midfield player, world-class striker. That's how I've been brought up. The spine has to be immense.
Noradin, can I sneak in a quick follow-up question? Which goalkeeper would you sign?
Oh, I said it. I've been scouting him for the last couple of seasons since I made up my mind. During lockdown, I made up my mind that De Gea needed to go. I never forget the Sheffield United goal he conceded at Old Trafford after the lockdown. That was it for me. Sometimes it's one game. It's one game and you're like, right. He conceded a goal and he didn't even ask for a free kick. And that's when I was done. I think one of the best shot stoppers and the right AC is Costa. The guy that I've been scouting was Costa.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind McMannion. I really like McMannion. But Diego Costa for me is at the right age, and Manchester United could be the next step that he needs from Porto. He's got all the capabilities. He makes fantastic saves. You saw it in the Euros. One-off saves he can. To me, the biggest thing, what I took the goalkeepers, from the good goalkeepers to the great, is that in the most, when there's one-on-ones or pull out a save from nowhere, a fantastic save from a goalkeeper, a crunching tackle from a centre midfield player, a kind of like a proper bullet header and a fight and a tussle from a centre half can ignite energy within the football team. Can ignite that. You know what I mean? A brilliant defensive clearance can ignite certain energy. And I do think that, unfortunately, Onana is not that guy. Positionally, when you shoot low and hard, he can't get down quick enough.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. I've never seen him make a save when he's come out to somebody, like really come out to somebody. And the Liverpool game, we saw it. We saw it with the Salah goal. Like, it's like,
yeah. Well, Tommy, I hope that's answered your question. The answer is yes. So, a question for me on this one, but I'll let you take this one, Jarvis. I did in answer to your question, Royden. But Jarvis, did you think we should have got a penalty for the pull down on Ahmad in the box? I would have given it personally.
Yeah, but if you look at a lot of like free kicks and corner kicks, and there's pull downs all the time, they pull their shirts, and sometimes you see small guys like Ahmad get pulled over, and you see big guys like Xerxes getting pulled, and he doesn't fall down, and nothing happens. So what's a pull? It's for me. Yeah, they could have given it, but I'm not very bothered about it. It's just the way football is for me.
It's a consistency for me. I mean, when I'm pulling, and I shirt pull, by the way, in the center, in the penalty box, I'm pulling the very bottom of the shirt at the back. So I'm just putting my arm around him, and that's how I'm pulling him. I just thought it was a little bit too obvious, but that sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. But I would like to see that given. Another quick question. Oh, God. Is that Stu or Bono from you two sitting in the panel? It's age, Mick, is what it is, old friend. It's age. So, it's one of those, I'm afraid. Quick shout out to Mark. He's been a member for 12 months. Brilliant. Thank you, Mark, for that. Right. Pappy, you're up. He's been waiting patiently, and he is up. Should United sell Sancho to Chelsea? Thank you for your question, Ian.
Ian, I'm just going to say, if I was in charge of that decision, no. I do not like strengthening rivals. I do not like it's going to create this narrative of like, oh, look, is Ten Hag like, he messed up by not managing Sancho well, or it's just like a cloud that's going to be hanging around the Premier League. I would have sent him to Serie A, any other league, not the Premier League. Just based on that, I just don't like seeing a player just that could have been good for us shining elsewhere. That's just me. I want Sancho to do well in his life and his career, but not at the expense of my club. So the short answer is I do not like strengthening rivals. And just imagine Sancho just gets so many assists, and at the end of the season he's the highest person with the most assists. It's just ridiculous for me. Sancho actually weakens rivals. There's a method to the madness, Trevor. No. Well, he can actually now become a man at Chelsea because he's been a small boy at Man United with a weak mentality, and maybe this new chapter, for him is actually him growing up and just being like realizing that you have to really, really dig deep for you to be at the top.
Because there's no competition in Chelsea. They hardly have any players. So
he's going to be the next Ravel Morrison, I'm afraid.
Right.
Yeah. Ian, I hope that's answered your question from Pappy. Right, Jarvis, you're back up. Question from Rushmano. Based on what we've seen so far, would you as a manager get a new left back into the club in January, or persist until the summer? I think that's a really fair question.
Well, it depends on if Luke Shaw can come back and stay injury free.
No.
Just for the end of the season, because the big question mark for me is Malacia. Can he come back and perform at a decent level? And we have a young guy called Harry Amas. So we have actually two young left backs who can fill the role. So I don't know if we need to sign another left back next summer to block their path into the first team. I really, really rate Amas. His second half against Liverpool in the friendly this summer was one of the best left back performances I've seen from the kid. And I really want him to be our left back in the future. So do we need to sign? Yes, I would like to sign one before the season and sell Shaw, but that didn't happen. So now we're stuck with Luke Shaw. No, not this January. I think if Luke Shaw and Malacia can stay injury-free, I will just go with them for the rest of the season.
All right, Rashmano, I hope that's answered your question. Elite baller, rinsing me here, which is fine. Straight from training. Yeah, in a nutshell, I went football training tonight, so hence I'm wearing this. So straight from training. I haven't got a gun. I don't think I could shoot a thing. To be fair. I'm not really sure, and I'm definitely not a welder. You wouldn't trust me with an open flame anywhere at all. So, or if you did, be well clear from me. Great question. Thanks a lot, Paul. Brilliant question. Nuruddin, this has got you written all over it, pal. Simon Joache, I think I've kind of not butchered that. Pappy will tell me if I have. Will Rashford hit double figures this season?
I hope so.
I think it's a good question. There's a good question. That.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I know that this season he's playing slightly. After the Liverpool game, I made on a fan cam, I said that he's playing to instructions in terms of like recycling, giving it inside midfield. He looked more like the Rashford. He was having pot shots. Like he said, Stu, you have to carry the confidence on the pitch. Play for Manchester United, you wear that shirt. You have to give. You have to fake the confidence if you have to. If that whatever helps you to fake it, you have to do it. But yeah, I thought he scored a good goal. I think that nobody expected him to bend it from that. And I thought De Ligt did really well, staying out of the way, not letting him touch him, because I don't know, he could have been offside if he didn't. Definitely unsighted Ramsdale. I hope he does. I really hope he does. I did see one thing I didn't notice in the game, him and Sersky connected a bit more. So there's a bit of an understanding. There's a little bit of understanding in terms of the rhythm. And I think what Stu was talking about a lot, Marcus Rashford has missed out on a coaching development. I know you said a lot of times, our generation, Stu, or maybe your generation, it was about do it yourself. But in the modern football, you know, in the last 15, 20 years, you need that. You need that developmental. You need almost, because they have aspects of it, but you need to be showing again and again and again. There are certain players, not all players. Some players get it and they have it. Some players, you have to be able to learn like anything else, you know. So I think Rashford, he missed that, and I think Tom laid it down before when the question in the beginning of the show. Rashford, what Rashford is. So for me, I really hope he can. I really can. Confident Rashford, fit Rashford, it can be dangerous in a team that's got the ball up the pitch a bit more. Yeah. I definitely think he has space to run on. But if he can improve his shooting and combination play, I always go back to that. Go back to the lockdown season. You know, him, Martial, Greenwood, they scored 65 goals, I think, or even over.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
You know, and the combination play was just terrific. So at the end of the day, he's got it in him, but nobody can help him. That's the thing about in football. You have to want it. He has to drag it out of himself, and he has to want to do it. Yeah,
totally agree. Thanks for that, Nuruddin. Simon, thank you for your question. I hope Nuruddin's answered that for you. Tom, got one for you here. Quite interesting. From We Deserve Better, and he asks, would you play Ahmad in the 10 tomorrow?
Personally, no. I'd play him out wide. I would give Fernandes the night off, and I would put Eriksen at the number 10 and give him a bit more game time. That's what I would do. We don't have Mason Mount, so unfortunately he can't play as number 10. I want Mino out of this thing. I want Mino out of this team completely. Give him a rest, give him a break. Me personally, I'd put Ugarte and Casemiro next to one another. Get Ugarte up to some match fitness for Palace. And then I'd put Casemiro at the side of him to add that bit of more level-headed protection. And look, we never know, guys. It might work. There might be a bit of a bromance, a bit of a partnership there. You don't know. We've never seen it before, so let's try it. And if you put Eriksen in front, you've got two bully boy DMs behind him. If he loses the ball or shit goes wrong, he doesn't have to cover much ground. He's got two players sitting there behind him who naturally understand each other's game because they play similar roles in their teams. So for me, I would personally play Eriksen there, and I'd stick Ahmad out wide and let him have a good solid 60, 70 minutes, run at people and show what you can do, and then take some confidence of what you can do into Crystal Palace at the weekend, because we need him.
Yep, great answer. Thank you very much for that, Tom. We deserve better. Hope that's answered your question. Jarvis, got one here for you, which is right up your street from Wicker. And Wicker says, what's happening with all the yellow cards all of a sudden? 14 at Chelsea match this weekend. It was at Jared Gillett, by the way, who loves to give a yellow, doesn't he? They seem to be booking players for virtually nothing these days. Well, I tend to agree on that one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stu. And, you know, I'm old school when it comes to this. I think there's too many yellow cards in the game and they're too strict. But I know why they do it. They try to protect the technical players. And you know, but I think they are overdoing the rules. You know, you can't even look at the referee now without getting a yellow card. If you kick the ball 2 centimeters away after he blows the whistle, you get a yellow card. It's too easy to get a yellow card, and I think they should try to restrict it, because it takes away a little bit of the essence of the yellow card if you just give it out right, left, and center, because you just have to like keep it like a warning, a real warning. Now it's become just like a professional tool that players don't even care if they get a yellow card, you know, in a way. So I think they should just ease up on the yellow cards for me, and stop booking every Tom, Dick, and Harry for every little offense.
Yep, no, totally agree. Wicker, thank you very much for your question, and I hope that's answered it. Mr. Structure has to go, so Nuruddin will give you this question then, and then Pappy, over to you, pal, if that's all right. Nuruddin, Alien Red Devils asks, he's at the game tomorrow. Does the chat want me to slap the Glazers with my hot dog?
Yes, Peter. Do it. Do it, Peter. Slap him. Slap them all. Slap them all.
Oh, dear. Sorry, if I'd read it properly, I'd have given you a more sensible question.
That's all good. I just want to say, people, please smash the likes on the video, subscribe to the channel, Jarvis Corner, one of the best shows on YouTube, people. Go and check it out.
Thank you.
And lots of love, people. Big up to everybody here. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. To Stu, to Pape and Tom, and to the chat. Lots good to see lots of friendly and familiar faces in the chat. Take care, everyone. Love and light. And thank you.
Big up,
it was an honor to come on, and thank you for a brilliant show.
Cool. See you on the next one, Nuruddin. I'm waiting for an invite tomorrow for the breakdown after the game. So
cool.
I will join you.
Yeah, nice one. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys. Red Devils, hope that's answered your question. Trevor Wade, Rentamy as always. Did your Mancini survive the German weather last week? Well, interestingly enough, Trev, there was a kind of a swimming pool area within the conference. So I got the Mancini out ready for that. What I didn't realise is that the lads had switched it out with one of those dissolving Mankinis. So I went in the pool with a Mancini and came out without one. So I hope that hasn't destroyed your mind too much, Trevor, but or your dinner or your drink.
Was it one of those string Mankinis?
Well, yeah, it's a proper Mancini. You go in with one and you come out without one. So, Trevor, I hope that answered your question. We've already, Ian. We've Nora's gone now, but you know, Pappy's already answered that one. So, and also we deserve better. We've answered that. But Elite Baller's got a really good question. And Pappy, this is one for you to tackle. Are you confident for the game against Spurs after how poor they were versus Arsenal? Great question, and I think it's a tough one to answer that, if I'm being honest. So I'm glad you've got it.
Yeah, Elite Baller, that's a very, very good question. I feel like I don't even see past Crystal Palace, mate. One game at a time. But one thing for sure is that you know, Spurs, they their weakness is set pieces. I think Ange Postecoglou is a little bit arrogant with, like his approach to set pieces and not having like a proper set piece coach. I know it'll be a very tough test for us, but I think they also sort of sometimes play to our strengths. Like that's where you have hopefully a firing and confident Marcus Rashford will be able to exploit the high line, mate. That's really how I feel about it. They sort of, just by virtue of Ange Postecoglou's high line tactics, they're giving us the opportunity to really go at them, and just with hopefully Ugarte also in that midfield, I'm not that scared of Spurs. So
yeah,
I hope that answers your question, Elite Baller.
No, well put there, Pappy. Well put. Thanks very much for that, Elite Baller. That's a really good question, actually. Just a couple of ones we've already tackled already. So, Tommy, I think the panel agreed that Benedict should get a shout tomorrow night. Are we all in agreement with that, guys?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. We'll come back to this one, Royd, and we'll go around the panel on that one because there's a bit more to it from a consistency point of view, but we'll go around the panel on that one. I don't really think it'd be ideal if our players even touch the drop, really. But I don't think we have the players at the caliber of Sir George. But we do have a great question here. Tom, can Xerxes and Højlund play together? I think that's I think they can, and I know you touched on it, didn't you? Earlier.
We touched on the super chat, but
yeah, please, yeah.
I think they can, but you've got to have the right balance behind them. And what I mean by have the right balance behind them is none of this big gaping hole in midfield, which means that one of them has to be further down the pitch than the other. If you want to get to basics of it, what you said before, I don't honestly think it's probably a bad analogy to use. Play 3 at the back, play 5 through the middle as a full line, a 5, and play 2 up top, and see where it gets you. And if both of them was fully fit, honestly, I would say play them together tomorrow. If you're 3-0 up or whatever, you're in cruise control, take your foot off the handbrake, try something, bring him on, see what you can do. And, for what I like with Xerxes, I do see that bit of when Martial first came to the club, that bit of swagger, that bit of stylish sort of play. It's not so much about flicks and tricks, but when he has the ball at his feet, it's a bit slicky. It's, silky. You could make the argument again what you guys said before. He doesn't let his shots off as if they're bullets. It is almost try and make it swerve past the keeper rather than just put your laces through it. He's not a laces kind of number 9. Whereas Højlund, from what I saw last season anyway, guys, the pace and the power he gets behind the ball when he gets a proper full foot behind it, and it doesn't matter if it's right or left, either of them, it fires them past the goalkeeper, no problem. Yeah. So what I like with Xerxes in particular, and I'm quite surprised that he's not built up a partnership with Rashford as much because of how well Rashford played with Martial for a couple of seasons. I'm quite surprised because similar characteristic of player to what Martial was. I'm surprised that he hasn't sort of clicked with a player like Xerxes out of a lot of the other players that have walked through the door recently. He's more of the one that I think Rashford can build something with as opposed to it. But I also think Højlund's not a bad option because it takes, like I was saying before with Rashford, it takes a lot of the weight off his shoulders because you do have a proper number 9 that will put his laces through the ball. Whereas Xerxes, for me, I've actually come up with a name for him, guys. None of this half 9 bollocks now. He's a hybrid. He is a hybrid. That's the hybrid, tagline that I'm going to give him. He's a hybrid number 9.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not a false 9. He's not a number 9. He's a hybrid.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Simon, I
just want to chip in on it quick. I just want to say we got to remember both Højlund and Xerxes are big units. And most center back partnerships have one strong guy and one ball playing guy. So we will be quite a handful for the opposition to play against both Højlund and Xerxes. How will they handle it? So it's an interesting idea, and I would like to see it play itself out and see how the opposition reacts, because I think they will bind up the opposition defense. They will keep them low, so they will neutralize the high press, because the high press, we know it's depending on the center back and the defense to push out and keep it compact. So I would really like to see it, and it's very interesting, and I think we have an ace up our sleeve when it comes to our attack, if we can get those firing.
Yeah, just to chip on that, Jarvis and Tom. Ideally, they'd split the centre backs, which we've never done in the last 10 years. We've never split the centre backs. And by splitting the centre backs, it offers Bruno, Ahmad, maybe Garnacho or whoever, a chance to get in through the middle. But it will. And the other thing is, you could play Højlund just ahead of Xerxes, as Tom says, he's a hybrid player, and Xerxes can play the smiling new face behind him, and he can. And that is a real problem. It's hard to describe, but what I mean is, if you put Højlund there, and then Xerxes can play alongside him. Now, if you're a centre back, it's a fucking nightmare, because you just don't know who to pick up, and that we could be massively dangerous. So, Simon, I hope that answers your question. Pappy, Trevor's rinsed you also. You've got to love him. You've got to love him. Has Pappy go in Monopoly just yet? Trev, absolute quality as always, pal.
Trevor, go hit the like button. Go subscribe to Football Power Hour as well. You.
Elite Baller question, Ugate's. We don't know. We don't know. Yeah, we think so, but we don't know. All this kind of. I mean, I've got to tell you, Jarvis, I was pissing, and Tom and Pappy, but sorry, lads, I was pissing myself on YouTube, right, on Twitter earlier. What fucking Ugarte came on for 10 minutes. You can tell he had a great game. He's got blood on his knee. I mean, what kind of moron would tweet that? He's got blood on his knee. Wow, big fucking deal. Gee, and the thing is, it was the smallest graze you've ever seen. It wasn't even fucking gushing. There was no blood marks on it. It was nothing. All he'd done is go down on his knee, and he'd scraped his knee on the. There it is. He'd scraped his knee on the floor. Wow, big! I can't even see the blood. Where is it? Dear me, embarrassing. Embarrassing. Jarvis, Trevor's our final question of the night. Trev has asked a good question, and the old host will take this. And it's: do you think that is warranted that we're being labelled as a cup team under Ten Hag? Are we more than that with the new signings and backroom staff, etc.? See, Trev, he can be sensible on occasions. Stop it, Trev. Stop it. We don't want too much sense from you, mate. Stop it.
It's a good question, Trev. I just want to say, yeah. Well, time will tell, but on a personal stand, yeah, I believe in Ten Hag. I believe in this team. I love Man United, and I see us improving a little bit step by step, and sometimes it's one step forward, two steps back, but all in all, I think we are moving forward with the structure, with our signings, with our squad. I think Ten Hag slowly improving, slowly learns the game. He's not as stubborn, and I believe we can transform from a cup team to a title challenging team, but not maybe this year, but in time. That's why we need to have patience. We need to have patience with the players. We need to have patience with the manager. And I think we can learn. So give it a couple of years and we will be there. That's my prediction.
Brilliant answer, Trevor. Hope you're happy with that. Just want to come back to Royden's question. It's more of a follow-up for him. He's talking about the pull down in the box. And he's right, but it is, unfortunately, referee subjective rather than rule subjective. Royden, look, I get away with it all the time. I have been penalised on the odd occasion, but it's very rare that I do get penalised. So Jarvis was right in his assessment. But actually, the legalities of football, if you are pulled and you are pulled off balance, it is kind of a foul, irrespective of how small or how large you are off balance. Mm-hmm. And within the penalty area, a foul constitutes a penalty. And you're absolutely right. The challenge that Rodri and Højlund did on Rodri was very similar to the one that Ahmad did. And yet, when you look at a couple of years ago, Silva did something similar against Rashford, and we got a penalty. So it really is one of those where it's difficult to judge. Other than that, I mean, you could tell straight away the way that he's doing it. To me, it's a stone wall. You know, it's one of those. I don't know. I would have given it. I know Jarvis was, subjective about it. What would you have done, Pappy, on that, and Tom?
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear that he's being pulled. Like, I don't think Ahmad falls by him just wanting to fall. It's there is momentum from that left hand. You can see that there's some force in there. So I just ask for more consistency, because sometimes the way the referees do, it's like they make the rules every season and change them every season. So I would have given a penalty. It's clear. You pull a player down, it's a penalty. Whether you're in if that's happening outside the box, then you say it's a foul. So it's a foul inside the box, and then consequently a penalty. Very simple.
Yeah. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'd agree with Papa's assessment.
Yeah, excellent. Jarvis, this is the end of Q&A and the end of Jarvis. It is. So I'm going to switch places with you, old friend, and you can wrap up the show. It's been another quality show, by the way. Thanks to everybody in the VAR room. Thanks for all your questions. Your questions are getting really, really good at the minute, which is great. But always remember, please rinse us, because that's what this show's all about. We're here to be rinsed as well as talk sense on the other occasion. But feel free, honestly, rinse us all the time. We don't care. I mean, I fight bears, when I'm not playing football. I go out and I fight bears. So I can tell you about my latest bear hug if you like.
And you weld in between.
I weld in between. I fight bears. I think somebody said I'm not hard. I just walk around with a cut on my leg anyway. Constantly, something along those lines. So it looks like Tom's had to go.
Yes,
sorry, but
I just want to thank everybody for watching the show. 2 hours and 20 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. I try to make Jarvis Corner a place where we can talk football and ask questions, and not just talk about the latest guff. We're trying to talk about the games, the players, and what's Man United related. And not just try to replicate what every other channel talks about. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I would thank our guests, Stu Wally, my co-host, and Poppy as my co-host, of course. Poppy, would you like to promote your channel for a couple of seconds?
Oh, definitely, guys. Please go, Lilies. Please go hit the like button on Football Power Hour. By the way, I think there's about 20 likes or just under 20 likes, and Jarvis's Corner is everywhere. It's on Football Power Hour. Over there, we play every Friday. We play a game, a quiz. There's sometimes we play bingo, sometimes we play Kahoot. So if that's something that you like, please come and support and be here every Friday. We do watch alongs as well and so forth. So big shout out to you. Let's help the family grow. If you're watching on MUFC Realist TV right now and you have not subscribed, shame on you. Subscribe right now. Hit the like button. Support. It's just free, guys. It's free to do that, and it helps the channels grow. So and you don't lose a thing at all. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Thank you so much for the great conversation.
Yes, it's been a great conversation, and I would like to thank Tom Journalist One for joining us as usual, as a regular member of this panel, and our special guest for the night, Nuruddin. And if you haven't checked out his channel, United Real Therapy, it's a real and raw channel. So guys, check it out if you haven't. And I would also like to thank all the people in the chat: Luan France, Lilis, Alien Tenno, Trevor, Elite Baller, Lucky Singh, everybody who's contributed with the super chats and memberships. Rashmano gifted 20, Jonathan Lilienberg gave us a super chat, Tommy Boyle. You are supporting the channel. You know, we're not taking out dividends, not making money of this.
Nope.
We are putting everything back into the channel to make better content for you guys. And that's a Scout honest. Nothing is going our way. It's going into the channel and back to you. So thank you, everybody, for contributing.
They couldn't afford me and Pappy. Couldn't afford us, could they, Pappy?
No.
just a very quick one, if you don't mind. Yeah. Myself and Jarvis and Pappy, we go on other channels as well, and we'd love your support over there on AFU and the Weekly Armchair, you know, to name two, RD United,
Mark N, MUFC.
Mark N, MUFC. You know, we appear on a few channels, and we like to support as many as we can. You know, we're all small channels, but we do it for fun. There's no, like Jarvis said, there's no money involved. So if you'd like to follow us, I know that Trev can be seen abusing me on most channels, and if you like Trev's form of comedy and Elite Baller's form of comedy, then please follow them to other channels. Jarvis and Pappy, you know, myself, we do try and work with other channels as well. So thank you very much for your support, and thank you very much for tonight as well.
And Peter, Alien Tenno,
yeah,
next time I come to Manchester, I call you up and we go to the pub and have a cold one. No problem. That's a promise. That's a promise. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a great show. I enjoyed it. It's been 2 hours and 25 minutes. Not the longest show we have had on Jarvis's Corner, but I would say long enough. So thank you, guys, and we will see you on the next show. So have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.